across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and a good Wednesday evening to you. It is Petrie here with you for the next 3 hours, and coming up at midnight as ever, it is your hour-long phone-in. It is your chance to talk back. It's the only place that does a full hour of just your voices, so I do hope that you join in the conversation. What I want to talk to you about at midnight is the migrants and the migrant hotels, because we know now the new hotel that's being reserved for migrants in Canary Wharf, for 500 rooms, 400 of them have been reserved by the Home Office for migrants at a cost of £81 per night. So that's the asylum seeker accommodation. It's not big, it's there in case there is a surge of people coming across on boats this summer, so it's kind of in reserve. And I know a lot of people are angry about it because they see what was a 4-star hotel being handed over to people who have not paid into the system here, have not been part of this country. And for many of you, you see them as being here illegally. As I always say, they're not actually illegal until their asylum claim has been refused, which is why you don't see them being arrested as they arrive. But I know that that is a nuance, and many people are really angry about it. There are hundreds of hotels across the country now being used to accommodate about 50,000 migrants. So it's expensive. We know that. It's about £8 million a day. But if they don't go into the hotel or into a hotel, where do they go? Now, I know a lot of people are going to go, well, they shouldn't be here in the first place, but they are here. Let's keep within this universe. So they are here, they are arriving, they're going to continue arriving. It's going to be a bumper year this year. We think it's going to go up from about 35,000 this year to around 50,000. So we know that this is going to be a big year. Labour government, as the Tories, have not got a grip on this at all, and they're not likely to. So within that universe, where do they go? Because I can understand why people are angry about the hotels. I get it. But where else do you put them? We tried it with the Baby Stockholm, didn't we? And that didn't work. So that was a waste of money. So where do you put them? What do you do with them? Give me a call. 0344 499 1000. You can message me as well. Put the word talk and then your message to 87222. So all of that is coming up at midnight. Before that, going through the papers for Thursday will be Claire Muldoon. She will be with me going through those front pages. James Worley will be here as well. He's going to be talking to us about some travel news, as this Friday is apparently Frantic Friday. When isn't it? And Josh Ron will also be here, entertainment journalist, to go through some red carpet exclusives that he has for us. But before that, the situation in Syria currently is incredibly tense. The Druze and the Bedouins, of course, there is an uneasy ceasefire, but the history of this region is equally difficult to navigate. You've got the Kurds who want autonomy, you've got the Bedouins who are Sunni Muslim, the Druze, which are mostly Shia, but there's other forms of religion as well with the Druze. Turkey is now involved. They're saying that the Druze cannot have autonomy, that they will not accept any form of division in Syria, that Syria has to be one country, one nation, one military and one state. America has echoed that as well. Since the uneasy ceasefire, the Americans have got involved. Like I said, the Turkish are involved and so are the Saudis. They're saying that there will be some money coming into Saudi Arabia. Is supposed to bring in $4 billion to rebuild Syria, which of course, as we know, was under Bashar al-Assad, for the dictator for a very long time, and it's now provisionally under Ahmed al-Sharaa, who is the man who was once al-Qaeda. So as you can imagine, it's an incredibly complicated scenario. But does it matter to us? It's over there somewhere. Does Syria impact us in any way? Does it really matter? Well, joining me now to discuss that is Adam Lucente, who's a correspondent for Al Monitor, an independent Middle East news source. Adam, thank you very much for joining me again. Why should we care about what goes on in Syria?
Well, Syria is very strategic and significant, especially for Europe. As you know, it was the center of the 2015 migration crisis when people were fleeing Syria, largely fleeing the Islamic State, but also just the general chaos of the civil war, which was, in its prime at that time. And that led to, hundreds of thousands of people entering Turkey and Greece and, Europe and other places until there was some sort of a resolution. So it's been a hotbed of different, terrorist and militant groups for some time, dating back to the US-UK invasion of Iraq. Al-Qaeda entered Iraq through Syria in many cases. Then, as I said, the Islamic State established itself there. So Syria is very important, not just to the region. Turkey, Israel, the Gulf are all looking at the situation very closely, but it's important to the Europe and the West and Asia and really everyone involved. Because
if it remains this sort of tinderbox, then we could see the resurgence of terrorism, for example. We could see the resurgence of migrants wanting to leave. So it does actually impact us a fair bit.
Yeah, exactly. And, tinderbox is one way to describe it. But, Syria, it's just a very unresolved situation. The Syrian civil war, it's all connected. Like, for example, Iran lost its territory, lost its presence in Israel. Iran lost its territory in Syria after the Bashar al-Assad government fell. That weakened Iran, that enabled Israel to go more after Iran, and as we saw in June. So this is just one example of how Syria is interconnected to all these different regional conflicts.
So once Bashar al-Assad was deposed, he was overthrown, this other leader, Ahmed al-Sharaa, is in place. How likely is it that he is someone that we can trust, or do we have no choice?
Well, that's the question that people are asking in Washington and London and in the Gulf and other places around the world. But the thing with Shara is he obviously has his background in Al-Qaeda in Iraq, which later became ISIS. He was leader of Al-Qaeda's affiliate in Syria during the civil war, but he broke with them around 2016, 2017 and created another group. Now, that group was also Islamist and accused of all sorts of rights abuses when they were controlling northwest Syria until December, when they made this major offensive into Damascus and everywhere else. But since then, he's tried to project a more moderate image. He's met with all these different minority communities, Druze, Christian, and so forth in the country. But people are worried that this remains a government that is still dominated by members of this former jihadist group. Now, a lot of people in the West have taken the approach that there is no alternative, and they're happy that Assad is gone because he was aligned with Iran, he was aligned with Russia, he was aligned to a lesser extent with China. And so they're happy that now there's a Syrian government that, at least in rhetoric, is saying they're open to Western investment, they're open to Gulf investment, they're trying to crack down on the Islamic State, they're even talking to Israel to pursue some sort of, probably not a peace deal, but some sort of calm there. So they're saying the right things and people want to believe them, but there is some skepticism about their, not even just their desire, but their ability to control the country and to keep radical groups at bay and to protect some of these minority communities, which have allies in Israel and have allies in the West, and people want to see them protected.
And Ahmed al-Sharaa, who is leaning towards the West, presumably is good for us when it comes to Russia as well, because as you rightly said, Bashar al-Assad was deep in the pockets of Putin. So if we get in, to put it in layman's terms, if we get in now and help this government, even if we don't feel that we can entirely trust them, that'll be good for us in the long term with Russia, I'm guessing.
That is what some people think, especially in the European Union. It's worth noting that, Russia has established relations with this new Syrian government. It's perhaps awkward because they, were literally fighting against them for much of the civil war, against Shara's group, Hayat Tahrir Sham, called HTS in English. But Russia still has a limited military presence there. The Syrian government hasn't fully moved on that and made them remove that. And there is an expectation that Russia will be less transactional with Syria. they won't be making any sort of human rights demands on them, and they've also sent some oil to Syria since the new government took power. So there's a concern that Russia will still maintain some sort of a foothold, but the idea of them, being the sole, or not the sole, but the primary backer of the government in Damascus, that is no longer the case. And with the war in Ukraine raging, that's welcome news to a lot of people in Europe and the US as well.
Turkey, of course, have a big card to play here as well. Turkey and the Kurds and the PKK have been fighting since the 1980s. The Kurds have always wanted autonomy. It was thought that the beginning of this, that there may be some wriggle room to give Kurds their own land, own section of Syria, but that seems to be too far away now.
What's happened in the last few months is the Kurdistan Workers' Party, widely called PKK, they've announced that they're done fighting Turkey, and they've begun peace talks with President Erdogan's government. At the same time, Turkey has kind of backed off a little bit on the Syrian Kurds, who it considers an affiliate of the PKK. They deny this, but there are some sort of ideological connections. And Turkey has kind of given the green light for the government in Damascus, led by Ahmed Shara, to pursue talks with the Syrian Kurds on integration into the new state. But what's happening is, Turkey is looking at this with concern because, while they're having this relative peace with the Kurds in their own country, or at least with the PKK in their own country, and things have calmed on the Syrian front, now they have a government in Damascus that's much more friendly to them than Assad was. But this fighting in the south, even though it doesn't border Turkey, has concerned Turkey. They don't want to see any sort of division of Syria on ethnic lines, because that would lead to potentially the Kurds having more autonomy than they had in the past, and than they currently are supposed to have with this new agreement they've reached with the government in Damascus. So Turkey is looking at this very closely, and they want to stay close to the Syrian government.
Because there is an example, isn't there, of the Kurds having a fairly autonomous region in Iraq. So it wouldn't be impossible that they demanded that from Syria.
No, and they had, the part of Syria that I've been to was the Kurdish part a few years ago, and they have, and still do, lots of de facto autonomy there. But with the Iraqi Kurdistan, that party there is different than the major party in Syrian Kurdistan. Turkey gets along better with the political, at least one of the main political actor in Iraqi Kurdistan, and is the total opposite in Syria. So even though Turkey has calmed down on this, they still do not want to see what they view as a PKK-affiliated state emerge in Syria.
But let's just talk for a moment about Israel getting involved in this in support of the Druze, and just so people have an idea of the sort of size of the populations of these people. The Druze are about 700,000. The Bedouins are also about 700,000. They're fairly evenly matched in regards to numbers. Again, we're looking at the Sunni Muslims against Shia in a sense. I know the Druze have more religions than just Islam, but which surprised me that Israel has come in defence of the Druze and bombed Syria, bombed even into Damascus, and said, look, leave the Druze alone.
Yeah, the thing with Israel is that they also have a population of over 100,000 Druze in their country. The ones in the Golan, some of them have accepted Israeli citizenship in recent years. That was an annexed territory. But the ones who live in Israel proper are full citizens, and the Druze men are actually drafted into the Israeli military alongside Jewish Israelis, and some even have high-ranking positions. And there's lots of pressure from Druze. There's been protests among Druze in Israel. Even some have crossed the border into Syria in opposition to what they view as happening to their fellow community across the border. And the Druze religious leader in Israel has also been calling for the Netanyahu government to act more decisively. So Israel has a political reason to do this, and also perhaps an emotional reason because of the bond, they call it Covenant of Blood, Brit Hadam, between Druze and Jews in Israel. But Israel is also, for more realpolitik reasons, been very concerned about southern Syria for some time. It was something they paid close attention to during the civil war. And they're fearing any sort of entrenchment of jihadist groups that might turn on them one day, as what happened in Gaza. Obviously, that's a different dynamic, a different history, but Israel is very concerned that they want to have peace on their border with Syria. They don't want another Hezbollah-Hamas situation in Lebanon or Gaza, respectively, on that northern border with Israel.
But they can't affect that, can they? Because if it is being said that Syria must be one nation, one military and one state, then Israel won't have any say on who lives on that border.
Israel doesn't necessarily need to have a Druze state in Syria. I don't think many people expect that that's a reality at this time or a realistic prospect, but Israel has said in the past that they don't want the government fighters south of Damascus, which would include Sweda, Daraa, and other parts where Druze and also Sunni Muslims live. So that's what Israel's concerned about. And they've kind of taken like a two-pronged strategy here where they've been bombing the Syrian government, but they've also been engaged in US-mediated talks with the Syrian government. And those were hurt by Israel's reaction to the violence, but Israel said that they had no choice. And but those talks are expected to keep going on. So we'll see what type of agreement that leads. A peace agreement like in the Abraham Accords is not likely. Those Abraham Accord countries never fought Israel in any sort of war, the UAE, Morocco, and Bahrain. But with Syria, we might see a revision of the border agreement that they used to have. Even though Assad was aligned with Iran and aligned with Hezbollah, the Israel-Syria border was very quiet, for the vast majority of his reign there. So Israel could be seeking some sort of just de-escalation agreement, and that's something that is possible, short of normalization.
Now, look, there's a lot of heat in this area. It has been an area of unrest for as long as I can even remember. Okay, there's always something going on. This ceasefire at the moment, there's been so much blood spilt. We're even hearing rumours of beheadings and atrocious acts by both sides, breaking into houses, all of this kind of thing, the civilian population being involved as well, 1,000 dead, bodies piling up on the streets. How can this ceasefire hold when there is so much hatred?
It is worth noting that it is very much unresolved, and it's important you mentioned that Bedouins have also faced, rights abuses according to local war monitors. But what I'd say is that people are looking for there to be some sort of accountability. Like yesterday, the Syrian government released some of its findings on the March massacres of Alawites, who are another offshoot of Shia Islam, who live primarily on the coast. Assad was an Alawite, so they've been associated with him, even though they have different views on him. And the government came out and said that, yes, 1,000 people were killed, and they said that they referred alleged perpetrators to judicial authorities, but they didn't name any of them, and they said that the Syrian command did not order this. Now, this contradicts some reporting by Reuters and others. And, people I spoke to in the Alawite community and in the Druze community have said basically that they feel there is no accountability. So this is unresolved, but, people are not necessarily calling for an uprising right now, but what people are looking for from this government is to have, hold people more responsible for what's happened and to prevent this from happening because, there's Saudi money coming in, Turkey's getting along, they're pursuing these talks with Israel. The Trump administration has reached out to this government, but if every few months, if we continue to have, massacres like this, and the ones of the Alawite and the Druze are not the only one. There was an attack on Christians just last month. If these things keep happening, it will, potentially undo all this progress that Syria has made, making better relations with its neighbors and trying to rebuild and modernize its economy after so much devastation to all Syrians.
And that just looking at the country of Syria, and in fact, I would also point anybody's view to Bosnia as well and Serbia, that unresolved hatred is just bubbling under the surface. This is going to be a heck of a job for this interim government. These religious groups, all absolutely despise each other. I mean, they can't. It doesn't appear that they can live together. So how does a government smooth this over if it doesn't segregate these groups to a degree and give those groups a form of autonomy?
It's worth noting that some Druze groups, after the fall of Assad, said they would join a new national army. And obviously the Kurds in the northeast have also said that. Now the integration is ongoing. But what it shows is that, there is some desire to integrate into a new Syrian state. It just depends what that state looks like. Is it going to be completely dominated by Shara's allies from the civil war, or will it be more inclusive? And, it's worth noting that Sweda, which is a Druze majority area where a lot of this violence took place, there were massive protests against Assad there in recent years, leading up to his fall, because people were so upset about the economy. And, even when he was welcomed again by the Gulf in 2023, they said, okay, the war's over, Assad won, let's get him back in the Arab League. the Gulf money didn't really start pouring in, and the economy didn't get better. Still, largely based on corruption and trafficking with Captagon. If these things improve, you might see more people willing to join this Syrian state if it's a little more inclusive, if the economy gets better, and that could put a temper on some of these tensions that have been there for a long time, but don't always result in violence.
The Americans are involved. They seem to be involved in everything at the moment. But they've said, look, take our advice or not. We're not going to be here for very long. We're not going to sit and talk peace with all of you different groups. We're not in the long term. But listen, this is the way to do it. There's a 30-day deadline. Can you see it holding this ceasefire? Will it lead to a permanent solution?
It's possible. I mean, the Trump administration so far has been, supportive, but less and less so of this Syrian government, saying that, U.S. envoy to Syria, Tom Barrack, said that, they need to be held accountable, but they also need to be enabled to be responsible for the whole country. But, it depends who has Trump's ear on this issue. And it's worth noting that, there's a bill going around in Congress now to have a more cautious removal of the Syria sanctions, to make it more conditional. And that's from Democrats and Republicans. So we might see a more cautious approach from the Trump administration so far. But so far, Syria's neighbors remain, a lot of them, the UAE is more skeptical, but Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Turkey, they still want to have the relations with Damascus. So the Shara government has not lost all credibility so far internationally. But domestically, especially in certain communities, it is losing some credibility.
And finally, Adam, do you see Ahmed al-Sharaa being able to hold this together in the long term, or will there be free and fair elections at some point? And if so, who would you imagine would be running Syria with this complicated landscape?
He's given himself a long time. He's made statements that, this could take years. So far, the Constitution gives a lot of power to him. So there are people who are skeptical that there will be free and fair elections, but what I would say is, anything can really happen in Syria. I mean, nobody expected this government to fall as quickly as it did. No one expected Shara to even say the things he did, whether it's all talk or not. No one expected him to make these outreach to these communities. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it develops.
Good to talk to you. Thank you, as ever, Adam. Adam Nishante there, correspondent for Al Monitor, an independent Middle East news source. Quick break, back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is...
Hello there, this is Talk and it is Petrie, and coming up at midnight, of course, is the phone-in, and I want to talk to you about the migrant situation and hotels, because there's a lot of people in the country, they're planning lots of protests across the country in front of the hotels to try and get these migrants moved out of the hotels, and I can understand that. But where do you imagine that they are going to go? And like I said, I know that a lot of people, well, they shouldn't be here in the first place, but they are here. So in the universe that we're in, and there doesn't seem to be any stopping them, no government has come up with any theory so far that is actually working. Smashing the gangs is the most pathetic thing I think I've ever heard in terms of a solution. So these people will still keep coming. That is something you can bet your mortgage on, right? You can bet your life on it. Until they are stopped, they will keep coming. So where do they go? If not in the hotels that everybody's so angry about, and I completely understand that, I do get it, where do they go? It's costing us £8 million a day at the moment. A good deal of that money we are taking from our overseas aid budget, so that is money that's already ring-fenced for overseas aid, but we're able to use it in Britain uniquely because of the fact that it is to house migrants. So if they don't go to hotels, where would you put them? That's the question, because while everybody's raging about hotels, and like I said, perfectly understand it, it's a very expensive thing to do. You know, a lot of communities are saying that their area has been destroyed by this, an influx of largely young men turning up in one place. You've got small towns with, you know, perhaps 100 young men suddenly turning up from nowhere, and they're upset and angry about it, and in some places with very, very good reason. But what... I just don't... I think I always try and look at things and go, OK, now I understand you're cross about that. I get it. I understand it. I would be too, right? But what's the solution? Because being angry with no solution is as pointless as banging your head against a brick wall and hoping that that will solve your headache, right? Because it's not going to do that. So just being angry and going, well, they shouldn't be in hotels, is not an argument. It is just an angry statement. So what do we do? I mean, according to Keir Starmer earlier this week, of course, he thought there was enough housing for everybody, which is an absolute joke. I don't even know where this man lives. I don't know what he thinks about half the time, but he certainly doesn't know what's going on in his own country. So what is the solution? And do you live near one of these migrant hotels? How is it? What's it really like? Do give me a call. I really genuinely want to hear what you've got to say about this. 0344 499 1000.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk, and it is Petrie here with you through until 1 o'clock. And just a reminder, coming up, James Worley will be here to tell us about Frantic Friday. And also Claire Muldoon will be going through the newspapers. But right now I'm thrilled to say, as I always am, that Josh Rom is here, our entertainment journalist. How are you?
It's so funny because when you said, oh, we've got Claire Muldoon coming up, I just had the strangest thought. Because you know W1A, when they go, oh yeah, yes, we love Carol, lovely Carol.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, oh, yes, I love Claire, lovely Claire, lovely Claire. So I just was harking back to W1A, even though we are nothing like the BBC whatsoever.
But W1A is a documentary.
I mean, for all intents and purposes.
Absolutely is a documentary. I can't tell you, I watched that with hiding behind a cushion, having worked there.
All I'm going to say is, hopefully, fingers crossed, if I see Hugh Bonneville in September, I'm going to be like, I'm so sorry for badgering you about Downton Abbey for the last few red carpets, which have nothing to do with Downton Abbey. And now, after Downton Abbey, I'm going to be badgering you about 2026.
Poor Hugh.
Poor Hugh. I constantly put him through his paces.
Right, let's have a look at your fabulous clips that we've got here. The Naked Gun.
Yes.
This isn't the same as Naked Gun.
Well, okay,
the comedy.
Well, so it's the sequel. So it's part of the franchise. So of course.
So it is.
Yes.
Okay.
So we are of course talking about the fabulous police comedy spoof franchise by Paramount Pictures, which has an all-star cast. It's got Liam Neeson, Pamela Anderson, Danny Houston as the villain, Richard Kane. Again, hilarious. And we've even got a cameo with wrestler Cody Rhodes, former WWE World Heavyweight Champion. So, you know, we've got an all-star cast. Bit of context. So in 2013, Paramount did actually announce the development of a sequel for Naked Gun, but it was kind of in development hell ever since. But then in 2021, they brought on board Seth MacFarlane. Now, you might recognise his name as the kind of creator, Family Guy, American Dad, Cleveland, you know, all... Ted, you know, the funny, the debauchery teddy bear, you know, absolutely brilliant. So he was kind of brought on to kind of take it forward from a production level. And, well, this is the result. We've got Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson in a film which is so ridiculous. It's so slapstick. It's so silly. And it's just the tonic that we need for all the terrible news that's going on in the world right now. Would you agree? I think we all need to laugh.
100%. Absolutely.
I mean, there's always that phrase where if you don't laugh, you will cry. So you might as well just have a laugh, particularly from the Jewish community. I feel that way desperately at the moment. So I went into this expecting a right good laugh, expecting to laugh my head off, expecting a tonic, and I got just that. And so I've been on the red carpet at the UK premiere of the film, speaking to the stars, had a quick little chat with Liam Neeson himself, and I asked him, well, this is the big gun, the Naked Gun, big gun, whatever. Not quite a pun, but hey, I'll just roll with it. But was it a big ask to kind of join this franchise, which has a real legacy behind it?
Yeah.
It wasn't. Seth MacFarlane we'd worked together 9-10 years ago. He called me about 4 years ago about it, see would I be interested. I said, sure, yeah. I need to end my career, let's do this.
How does preparation for a funny comedic role like this with loads of hilarious jokes compared to some of like your more serious dramatic roles? For example, you're so famous for Schindler's List. How does like the preparation for the two films kind of compare?
Chalk and cheese.
I tell you, it reminds me of, I don't know if you ever saw the Ricky Gervais, it was one of his comedy programmes, Life's Too Short, when Liam Neeson goes in and says, I want to do comedy. Oh, it's the funniest thing to watch Merchant and Gervais and
Liam Neeson, yeah.
They are just they're so funny. And the other guy that was Warwick, thank you, Warwick Davis, their faces are absolutely brilliant. So the idea of Liam Neeson doing comedy, he is actually very funny.
And he
very
is
funny.
In this film, he really has comedy chops. And I got to tell you, when you're acting for film or TV's different, especially if you're doing sitcom, because sometimes you might have an audience there. So, for example, with Friends and Absolutely Fabulous and Fawlty Towers, they would always kind of, you know, get a sense of what the audience is thinking by the studio audience. In this instance, when you're doing it for film, there's no audience there. So you never actually know if any joke is going to fully land or not. So that, I think, is the beauty of something like this, is you can actually tell that they don't want to come across as too try-hard, but at the same time, they want to go out and be entertaining. And
Liam would do it absolutely deadpan, as he did with the Ricky Gervais stuff. And he is... I never thought he would be funny. But he's got a tough act to follow with Leslie Nielsen, who was the original. He was utterly brilliant and did Airplane and other things as well. He was just hilarious. They were my favourite films when I was younger, because they were just so silly. I'm
learning more and more about you every day.
I love them. I absolutely love them. But also, there's a lot of rumours about the chemistry between Liam, I hope it's true, and Pamela Anderson, because they're both single.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this, a bit of backstage gossip for you. She was kind of looking around a lot at the premiere going, where's Liam? Where's Liam? There was, because she made her way onto the red carpet first.
I think they'd be a lovely couple.
And actually, the funniest thing is, so when she was actually having her photos taken before she did the media line, she was seen kind of asking, oh, where's Liam? Is Liam here yet? Is Liam here yet? I mean, listen, all I'm going to say is, stories like that, I always take with just a little pinch of salt, especially when you've got two stars.
Well.
Not just at the premiere, but it's also when they've got a film to promote and they're doing the rounds. So they're going to be doing interviews and going on this kind of press tour together. And it is, these are proper press campaigns, press tours put together by the studio. So I'm not sure if that particular story of kind of chemistry is kind of necessarily a planned story, and I'm not saying that. But put it this way,
I hope it's true, because they would be adorable together.
The thing is, in this film, they are adorable together as well, which does help as well. I mean, they're just very funny. So, for example, and you'll see this in the trailer, there's a line where in the first scene that Pamela Anderson appears in, Liam Neeson's like, take a seat, and she's like, no thanks. And then at the end, she's like, all right, I am going to take a seat. But instead of, she doesn't sit down, no, she picks up the seat and takes it with her. But what I loved so much about Pamela Anderson's role in this is kind of, she's making fun of all the sorts of movies that that basically made her famous, that she was doing. Like, she was kind of making fun of the blonde bombshell sort of stereotype, which I think is, at this stage in her career, I think she's made a brilliant point with The Last Showgirl, saying, I can do a dramatic role, I can be taken seriously, I'm not just a blonde bombshell, I'm taking off the makeup, you're seeing the person, the actress behind the makeup, it's a social experiment, this is me for who I am.
Do you know what, she looks so much better than her peers with all the plastic and the...
Totally.
I think she's stunning. You've got a clip from her.
Yes, so I asked her whether she had kind of any concerns about doing any sort of elements of the movie.
Well, when I was in the 8th grade, I was in a jazz band, and I did all the scat solos because nobody else would do it. This is a very tiny town. And so when I read the script and I saw the scat solo, I said, nobody can do this but me, So I was like, this is things you learn when you're young. Just do everything. You never know when you're going to need it. And so I did a little scat for Akiva in in an audition. He's like, okay, you got the job. He didn't believe me when I said that. And then the scat was scripted, so it wasn't just an improv. So you had to learn that, which was pretty interesting. But now I can't get it out of my head. I'll never forget it.
I gotta tell you, when watching it, I kind of felt like a little bit that you might have been like poking fun at some of like the sorts of roles at the kind of beginning of your career. Did you kind of come into this movie with something to prove, and what do you want viewers and film goers to get out of it?
No, I prepared for this like I would a dramatic role. There's still a lot of work that goes into it, months and months of preparation, and then you get to the set, you're meeting everybody for the first time, meeting Liam for the first time. I was really nervous, and I just got my, then when you conquer your nerves, then you just go into it. But I thought this was fun because of these last few years where I was able to do other projects and really peel it back and really think about my career and life, that it was kind of fun to go into a role like this. I think that it was nice that it came after The Last Showgirl.
Which I loved, and I continue to love.
Thank you.
She is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, and I've got fingers crossed for them. I mean, I don't normally get that involved, but when you see them together, it's like, oh, that would be so nice. And he had such a tragedy, losing his wife and all of that, so it'd be absolutely amazing. What else have you got for me?
Well, I mean, the thing is, so I usually come bearing exclusives, but I also kind of like to look at kind of what should we be looking out for, what's on our radar. So the first film that I want to talk about is Bujonia, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. Now, this is, again, all-star cast. We've got Emma Stone, we've got Jesse Plemons, we've got Alicia Silverstone, Clueless's Alicia Silverstone, making her big film kind of comeback, which I'm really excited for. So it's basically about two conspiracy-obsessed men who kidnap the CEO of a major company when they become convinced that she's actually secretly an alien who wants to destroy planet Earth. So Yorgos Lanthimos is known for directing quite out there movies. I loved, I didn't love Killing of a Sacred Deer so much, but I loved, obviously, The Favourite with Emma Stone, Rachel Weisz, Olivia Colman, the film that got Olivia Colman the Oscar. I loved Emma Stone as well in Poor Things as well. There was also The Lobster as well. So he's done like a couple of like really kind of out there films. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing him and Emma Stone work together. Once again, I think this is the fourth time they've worked together, because they did do a short film together, as well as The Favourite, Poor Things. Oh, no, this will be the fifth time, because they also work together for Kinds of Kindness as well. Sorry, my mistake. So, yeah, that's a film to look out for. Do we have a trailer? Not sure.
I don't think we do. No, we just got those two clips. I'm interested in this. I love this kind of thing as well, these sort of teacup mysteries. The Thursday Murder Club. Was this written by Richard Osman?
It was. So this is based off the book series by Richard Osman. Again, this cast is really unbelievable. So you've got Piers Brosnan, Sabine Kingsley, Dame Helen Mirren, Celia Imrie, Naomi Ackie, Daniel Mays, David Tennant, Jonathan Pryce and Richard E. Grant.
I mean, it's all the best, isn't it? The favourites of Britain.
Oh, yeah. Like, this is... You could just tell this is going to be British filmmaking at its very best. But it's also going to be on a streamer as well. So that's going to be coming out later on in August on Netflix. Bujonia is going to be out in cinemas on the 31st of October. So basically, Thursday Murder Club, for those of you who might not be familiar with Richard Osman's book, what this film's about. So we've got 4 retirees that spend their time trying to solve cold case murders for fun. But then their casual sleuthing takes a very thrilling turn when they find themselves with a real whodunnit. So they find them.
There's quite a lot of programmes and films with that exact plot. But I think what will make this stand out is, first of all, Osman's writing, which is superb, and these actors, which will take it to a completely different level. I'm looking forward to it.
Just anything with Dame Helen Mirren in, I'm absolutely sold.
I'm totally in love with her
sold.
as well. Yeah.
Sold.
She's another beautiful natural beauty. Anyway, so are you, Josh. Natural beauty. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Josh Rom there, our entertainment journalist. Stay where you are. Travel's next.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk. Just a reminder that coming up at the top of the hour is Claire Muldoon. She'll be going through Thursday's newspapers. But first, let's catch up with James Worley, our broadcast journalist and host of the Ultimate Road Trip podcast. And this Friday is apparently Frantic Friday. Fridays are always frantic round my way. I don't know about you.
They are. It's a festival of alliteration, Petrie, from the RAC. We've got Frantic Friday, midweek mayhem, and then after Frantic Friday, we've got the Saturday Scramble.
Oh, well, somebody's been busy at the RAC, haven't they?
Yeah. Reports suggest it's the biggest midweek getaway pre-summer, for summer holidays, since records began. 13.9 million trips during this week, and then for the whole week, from Monday to Friday until Frantic Friday, and then for the whole week it's 26.9 with extra journeys happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where are they all coming from? Where are they all going?
Well, they're all going on either staycations in the UK, they're going abroad. It's the busiest time, one of the busiest times of the year, and of course, whichever schools weren't on holiday until yesterday are now on holiday. The last schools broke up yesterday in England. Wales and Scotland broke up beforehand. So everybody's getting on the roads, Petrie, and the advice from the RAC is to be prepared, because you're going to be travelling ideally before 7 a.m. on Frantic Friday, or after 7 p.m. or 5 p.m. I think on Friday. Tomorrow 1 till 7. So if you're travelling out tomorrow, Thursday, 1 till 7 is the time to avoid. 1 till 7 p.m. obviously, and then Saturday it's 10 till 5. So avoid the I mean, it's But
if everybody takes that advice and avoids those times, then the rest of the times will be full. So don't take that advice.
Midnight motorway mayhem, more alliteration for you.
Exactly. I mean,
it's the same advice as given every year.
Yeah, but this is kind of my favourite time of year in London, because although the tourists come in, but they're more central. For those of us who live slightly out of central London, all the four-wheel drives have gone. All the posh people that live in areas like Notting Hill and that, they've all gone to their place in
West Country,
wherever, or to their place in Italy, or wherever it is, and and London feels a little bit calmer, and also there isn't that school run issue as well.
True.
And the wine warehouse is much easier to get to park in.
Very important.
I'm just saying.
To get you through the summer. Yeah, but you've got to watch out for the midday or the middle of the day roads. What am I trying to say? The hazards on the roads and the jams that will affect the M25. Dartford is one of the worst places, anti-clockwise, going back to my travel days, anti-clockwise to the Dartford crossing. M40 up to Birmingham, that's a hot spot. M6 through Lancashire up to the West Country, up to the Lake District, and then the M5 down to the West Country, passing Bristol Junction 80. Those are all the spots. That's where all the jams, the RAC say will happen through over the next few days. So just try and avoid.
And the M20 presumably as well.
The M20 down to the Channel ports and the Eurotunnel terminal at Folkestone, and it's going to be a busy one. But be prepared. There was a time, it was about 10 years ago, when the M25 was closed and people didn't have enough water, and it was during a heat wave. Yeah. The police were airdropping water bottles onto the motorway to keep people hydrated. So be prepared. Take entertainment for the kids on the laptops and iPads and all that kind of thing, and keep your mobile phones charged. Take a battery pack. I broke down actually, Petrie, on the motorway on the M4 the other day. I had a tyre blowout, and I called one of those motorway the phones by the side of the motorway, and luckily I had my mobile phone topped up, because the motorway emergency phone rang and rang and rang, and it rang off.
Oh, no.
Nobody answered.
Oh, that's good to know.
Luckily. Yeah, so I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. That's the official advice for National Highways. Still use it, but just be prepared. Keep your mobile phone topped up with one of those emergency or your power bank. So yeah, be prepared.
And make sure you've got enough petrol. or fuel,
and enough petrol.
or
Check your levels,
yeah.
check your coolants and your wash wipe, and just get it checked over. Check your tyres. If you haven't done any big trips since Christmas, the car's been on the side of the street or in your garage or wherever it might be. Just do all the necessary checks.
And also, if you've got pets, make sure you've got lots of water and food for them as well. That's the thing. I've always got the dogs in the car with me.
Yes.
Self-drive holidays. What are the tips that you've got for us for those?
Well, we've just talked about going down to Dover or Folkestone to get the ferry or the Eurotunnel. Of course, you can go from all the other cross-channel ports. But it's be prepared again. Check where you're travelling to. If you're travelling into France, a lot of the French cities now, you've got to have emission stickers. The Critères sticker for French cities apply to Paris, Marseille, Toulon, Toulouse, or Toulouse and other places. So you've got to get those in advance, ideally, to then drive into. If your car isn't compliant, you won't be able to drive in. So a lot of, we've talked about the low emission zone, the ULEZ in London. A lot of places, a lot of cities in Europe are low emission zones. 70 cities in Germany are low emission cities, and I think even in Germany you can get them on the motorway as you drive into the country.
But who checks that they are actually low emission?
Well, that's the thing. I think if you're stopped, then they will check, but you put in all the necessary information of your car, and it will come up with I think you've got to be Euro 5 or better in a lot of, or Euro 4 or better in many parts of France and Germany, for example. Spain, if you're a British driver, the Barcelona and Madrid low emission zone tickets you don't need to buy, from what I last checked a few hours ago. So if you're driving to Spain, if you've got long journeys to Spain, then you don't have to do that. But of course, you've got to check all the necessary accessories for France. You need high visibility vests, you need a spare set of bulbs, you need a warning triangle. You don't need the breathalyzer kit that you used to need, so you don't need that. But Germany, you need a first aid kit.
First aid kit. Yeah, I always have one in my car anyway, because I drove in Germany for about 6 years, so I've always got a triangle and a first aid kit in my car.
Yeah,
and you have to carry spare fuel in Germany, don't you?
Yeah, I think it's illegal if you run out of fuel.
It's illegal to run out of fuel. Yeah.
You can be fined massively. Speeding as well. Germany, of course, 30% of the autobahns have speed limits. A lot of them don't. They say you can do whatever speed you can, but no. As soon as it starts to rain, it's 130 kilometres an hour in Germany. France is 130, and in France again, just you might have some older drivers who have the old priority from the right, or if you have priority if you're on a roundabout. So just watch out for some of the old customs in parts of rural France, which some more elderly drivers might be adhering to, and it will take you totally by surprise. So be prepared for that. It's just important. If you're going to self-drive, you're going to hire a car. Check whether you have to deliver it back full or empty, and get excess insurance. I've done it a couple of times now. Don't get the excess insurance cover that the car hire companies will offer you at sort of £15-20 a day. You can do it for 40 or 50 quid. That covers you for the year. So if you have even a bus tyre, you won't pay any excess. You'll have paid it over here. Various companies you can apply through for the car excess insurance, which, as I say, is about 50 quid. Far cheaper than getting it when you get to the airport and you get the hire car and they try and sell it to you, saying, you're not covered. You can argue the case that you are covered, and it's worth its weight in gold, because if you're doing a few trips each year, that covers you for any excess. Because if you don't get excess insurance, you're liable to £1,200, the full amount, if you're involved in a collision. Really? Or the car is stolen. Yeah, so it's important either you get it, if you haven't got it in the UK, get it at the it'll cost a bit more, say 50-60 quid for 3 or 4 days, but it's important that you get that, otherwise you'll be liable for 1,200, 1,300 quid excess.
And it's always worth as well checking the laws of the land as well of driving, because again in Germany the drink drive limit is 0.
Yeah.
It's absolutely 0. I mean, we were even told not to suck lozenges that might have alcohol in them.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. I think now in the UK, if you're going to be driving, you just don't drink. I mean, the low alcoholic or the non-alcoholic options are there, and they have an infinitesimal amount of alcohol, or some of them do. But I think that's the thing. I think a lot of us now are thinking, it's just not worth it. There's so many great non-alcohol cocktails and everything available, when you go to parties or go to bars and or pubs. So, in Germany and, as you say, in France, they are...
They're really tight. So if you're, basically,
really
it's also always the next day as well. If you're driving from place to place and you have a big drinking session, the night before you're driving on somewhere else again,
exactly.
that is alcohol in your blood, and they have absolutely no wriggle room on that.
That's the thing.
Zero.
If you're out in a late night bar in France and you've got to be out of your hotel by 10 or 11,
don't do it.
You've got to leave at least 11 hours if you've had a few pastis or French lagers or what have you the night before. What I was going to say also with car hire, Petrie, apparently prices have come down recently. Which had a report the other day saying if you booked in April or May, if you can cancel without any penalties and rebook, prices are, especially in America, are fairly markedly reduced, sometimes 20-30% less now than they were around Easter time. So that's something to think about. And if you book a car with flights, sometimes I've done it before, you can book British Airways and you get the car for a week for about £100 more than the flight, so where it could be £300 more if you're booking separately. So airlines usually do, not just British Airways, other airlines will do packages with cars if you're needing to hire a car, which can really...
that's a really good tip.
It really does, and you can get little perks. British Airways can get additional drivers. Your wife or your partner can be a driver as well without any extra costs. So that's a really good tip to keep costs down if you are thinking of hiring a car, flying and hiring a car when you get out into Europe or the States.
And just really quickly on the point of pets, because I'm a little bit obsessed. Do they still need passports? Just very briefly. We need to get different passports, don't we? Oh, okay.
I think we do.
Yeah.
You would know better than me.
You need to check. Don't just take an animal across into another country without first of all checking what the requirements are for them with vaccines and things like that as well. James, thank you. Absolutely brilliant. I hope Frantic Friday isn't too frantic for you. James Worley there, broadcast journalist and host of the Ultimate Road Trip podcast. Claire Muldoon is next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, it is Petrie here with you, and with me is the broadcaster Claire Muldoon. How are you, Claire?
I'm really well, how are you?
You're looking well. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah, very well.
Are you surprised?
I am a bit, yeah, because you normally look rough.
Why?
Well, I'm just saying.
rough as a beaver.
Rough as a beaver, exactly. Rough as an angry beaver, actually.
Oh gosh, you've gone in early, haven't you?
Because you're looking, but I'm saying you look tanned. And I'm
bronzer, darling.
I am
it's
just so pale.
Beautiful camera lights.
Yeah, it's very
That's
good.
What it is.
It's very good.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm just very, 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 very almost see-through. But anyway, Claire, before we get to the papers, I want to talk about the migrants that are currently in hotels. Because, of course, in recent days, we've seen problems in Essex. We've seen some rioting there. We've seen a call to arms for people to protest outside hotels, migrant hotels up and down the country. The government is concerned, the Labour government is concerned that this will be a summer of riots. There's, there are the far right and far left are both trying to make hay with all of this unsettled nature. Angela Rayner actually admitting that there is a lack of cohesion going on in many communities because of this, which I thought was quite extraordinary. And then, of course, we've just had a big hotel that was 4-star in Canary Wharf that has been reserved for more migrants. And the question really that I have is, I understand that people are angry about it. It's £8 million a day. And I understand why the hotels are doing it. They get to close, they get to make money while they're closed, and then they get to get £1 million from the government to refurb a hotel. That's why they're coming into it, right? And I know why people are angry. 8 million a day and rising. But where else do we put them?
I don't know why this argument has come up now. I mean, this has been the case for at least for the past 10 years, and this is over 2 governments, Conservative and Labour. I don't like the othering of people ever, okay? And I certainly don't like the fact that this has been made out to be some political football. Where do we house them? We have spoken about this ad nauseum for years, Petrie, not just you and I, but, as journalists, as broadcasters, as commentators. What is the answer? I don't know, but I know something. We have to stop letting more in. We have to stop it. It's unsustainable. We know for a fact that there's been staff, not only in hotels in Glasgow, but all over, especially young girls. They have been assaulted. They've received unwanted, how do I say this?
Advances.
Received unwanted attention and advances. So we're not making people safe in the workforce, which is another buzzword now, because Angela Rayner wanted to bring in thought police. If you even think something, or if someone is standing in a bar, doesn't feel comfortable about a punter's conversation, the punter can then be asked to leave the bar because it's made people feel uncomfortable. It seems to be the cart before the horse, really. It really does. And I think we're in a really, really, really bad situation where we are spending £8 million a day on people that aren't British, that aren't taxpayers, that shouldn't be here, really. And I'm not talking about the families, I'm talking about predominantly young men from all over the world. They seem to be descending here. Greece have had enough. Sweden have had enough. Italy have had enough.
Germany.
France and Germany. Why can't we have enough? Is it the case that Starmer doesn't think we've got enough immigrants? I don't know. But on your point of Angela Rayner, I thought she was very prudent yesterday in what she said, and it surprised me.
It did
greatly,
surprise me too.
pleasantly.
Because it's not off the
Pleasantly.
Labour playbook, right? It's not what we've expected. Yeah.
It was more reform than anything. It was more a diluted reform. She was saying you know, no pride, no resilience, no social cohesion. But those three things have been inherent in parts of society, especially in poverty-stricken areas in the UK. That those salient points have always been there, and I don't like it attached to the flag of immigrants and asylum seekers, because I do not think what's happening in Epping, what happened in Diss, and what is happening just now in Canary Wharf in London is very helpful, is at all. It's not a nice thing that's happening, and it's stoking a fire. You've now got schools out for summer. You've now got people looking for work. You've got the narrative of delivery drivers and Uber Eats drivers being asylum seekers, not even being asylum seekers, but being immigrants illegally, taking jobs and delivering food.
And actually, you know, that is concerning as well.
Hugely
if people
concerning.
knocking on your door and standing in your doorway, and you don't know who they are. But you see, the thing is with me at the moment, and the reason that I'm asking this question is because I said, you know, just being angry about something is not a solution to it. No. You know, it's like banging your head against a brick wall and hoping that will cure your headache.
That anger.
Yeah, exactly.
Petrie, it really is not helpful.
So that's why I'm sort of saying, well, look, okay, in the world we're in at the moment, you know, in this universe where it doesn't seem to be that Labour are doing anything about stopping the boats. I mean, all these stupid ideas about smashing the gangs, absolute nonsense, as you and I both agree. But if not hotels, then where? We've tried the Bibby Stockholm. That was a waste of money. That cost us millions.
That's still ongoing.
Yeah,
people are still on that boat.
But aren't they decommissioning it any day now? But
we're an island. We're an island. We can't take them. We've got no borders anywhere.
No. But, you know, at the moment, they are going to come in. This hotel in Canary Wharf has been reserved for extra people coming in this year. They're preparing for more boats. Instead of saying, right, we need to prepare to stop this from happening, they are preparing for more people to come.
And I'd ask as well, what message is that sending?
Yeah.
To those that want to come, to those that are coming, to those that have paid a lot of money to the gangs to come over.
But I just don't know what
El Dorado.
I don't know what there's only I've only ever come up with one solution to this whole issue, and that is you set up hubs outside of the UK where people can apply for asylum, and therefore if they do arrive by boat they are considered to be illegal, because at the moment they're not illegal until they're refused their visa. So that would be the only way to say, right, the only way you get you know, asylum is in country XYZ.
What, like Rwanda?
Yeah. Well, no, that's sending people there. What I'm saying is, in the first instance, you go and apply for your asylum in a third country or a different country, and hubs that are somewhere. And then, if you come to the UK, you're breaking the law.
How about them applying for asylum in the country that they're trying to leave?
Well, yeah, I mean, that should be what we do. We set up hubs, so not in every country, but the countries where the largest cohort. And therefore, if they do arrive by boats, you can declare them illegal. We cannot declare them illegal at the moment, because that is the only way to claim asylum, is to arrive on British soil. It's the only way. If there was another way, you could say, if you arrive by boat or by lorry, you are illegal, we will arrest you, and we will return you.
But Petrie, I thought that any person seeking asylum, the first country that they arrived in,
they don't
have to take responsibility for them.
No, they don't have to. And that's the thing, is you're expected to, because you're aiming for safety. So you would expect to, as soon as you get to a safe country, you would be expected to remain there. But you think of those countries that border the whole of Europe, who will be the first country, they don't want them. So they're allowing them to pass through, and therefore they get to cherry pick. But
it's an unmitigated disaster.
It is for the whole. It's for the whole of Europe. It is.
Yeah, but it's an unmitigated disaster for us. I mean, I can only speak as a British person, and I don't think it's safe. It's not safe for them seeking asylum here, and it's not safe for us who live here either. Undocumented, unregulated people coming through on a boat. It's not safe.
No, and if we were at war, for example, they wouldn't be able to come, because you'd be going, well, they might be enemy combatants. We don't know.
Of course.
So, yeah.
Army militia. You just don't know.
Just don't know.
And that's the thing. And we're getting to a very pivotal point, both in Britain being a tinderbox because of this, because of the stoking of immigrants, asylum seekers are bad, we are good, and we need to get rid of you. And it's that violence, and that's the incitement to violence that is going to be the death of a lot of people.
I completely agree with you, and there's an awful lot of irresponsibility at the moment as well.
From the police as well.
I completely agree with that too. You know, the whole idea that they would walk people in who were pro-migration into an anti-migration. I mean, heads have got to roll for that, right? He's got to go.
Oh, come on.
He will end up, I think he'll have to end up resigning.
Of course he has to.
Because they wouldn't have done that the other way around. They wouldn't have done that the other way around.
No.
So it's not equal favour. It's not fair. I mean, like you said, it is so depressing that all we get from government, and I'm not just talking Labour, I'm talking from all of them.
I know you're not.
Is the same old blah blah blah, and at the meantime, they don't have to live with the consequences of their inaction.
No, they don't. They don't, and I'm not going to put this completely at the blame of Starmer. This has been going on.
No, this has been going on
for ages.
Yeah. I don't know what the answer is, but I think unless people have got an answer to where they go, you can't really.
I tell you what, the answer is definitely not listening to people, not listening to Brits, not listening to the voters, not listening to people that they are making unsafe.
Yeah.
And they, meaning the government and the illegal asylum seekers.
Yeah. And that has been a major problem, isn't it? That's why peaceful protest turns to riot, which is not something we can condone, of course. But
no, of course not.
Because they feel the frustration of not being heard.
Yeah.
And you know that with a teenager, right? If there's a frustration about not being heard, it can get shouty and nasty.
Oh, it
and
escalates.
That's what happens.
It escalates. Yeah. And you need to keep a lid on it. You really, really do. And all this talk about integration and everything else and whatever, this is actually diluting British culture and the British moral compass. It's diluting society, and it's not right, and it's not nice.
Well, and it's also the speed at which it was happening. It was the same issue in Germany when Angela Merkel allowed in 1 million people in a day. You know, that was just no infrastructure was built to support that. No extra care was put into it. It was just like, yeah, come here, fill your boots, and that really upset.
And it's quite patronising. It's patronising both to the person who's seeking asylum, and it's patronising to the Germans as well, because. She wasn't doing it for, any magnanimous reason. She was just doing it. She wasn't doing it to fill jobs. She was just doing it. It was so strange because Tony Blair did exactly the same thing here.
Yeah. Well, he's responsible for the opening of the doors, isn't he? Right, let's have a look at the USA Today. I don't know how much you've been watching this, but it's my favourite sport at the moment, Epstein. The Epstein files and the Epstein attention staying at boiling point, even though Congress has been shut down early, so that no vote anti-democratic move, so that there can't be any vote on the Epstein file release. And Donald Trump going, look over there. It's not working for him, is it?
Is it Pam Love? Is it Pam Lamb? Who told Donald Trump that his name was on the Epstein list?
Oh, yes, I've just seen that.
Can you remember?
I can't remember. Was it Pam Bond? No.
Something like that. Anyway, it was a woman with a white suit, and she told him. So he was saying, yeah, I'll release them. Everyone has to, know what was in them. And then all of a sudden, actually, Donald, your name's in them. Oh, no one needs to see them.
We don't. It's a hoax. It's a hoax. So either it's a hoax by the Democrats, or or they won't release them. So I don't know which one it is. They don't exist, or it's a hoax. It can't be both.
They definitely exist.
They definitely exist.
They definitely exist. And do you know what? I would love to see or hear an interview with Ghislaine Maxwell.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? That Pam Bondi and the DOJ have gone to visit with Ghislaine Maxwell. Before she speaks, we can't believe a word she says. Now,
I think she has to go on Joe Rogan or something. I think he needs to move out of his hut in Idaho.
But her pardon or release will be contingent on her lying. Presumably, if they're talking to her, they just say, look, just say, Donald Trump barely knew Epstein. He was never there. They never spent, even though they're AI, they're fake, they're AI.
They're fake. They're fake.
You know, and if you do that, we will release you.
Release you? Oh,
pardon you.
What a murk. It's Shakespearean.
We're never, do you know what? We're never going to find out. And the worrying and troubling thing about that is that there is a cabal of paedophiles at the highest level of American society, not just American society.
Not just American
either.
society.
There are names from all over the world, names that you and I both know that are on, who went to paedophile island and raped children, and they are going to get away with it. And we will never know who they are. And that is devastating, because those victims have a right to know, and we have a right to know who these men are.
Because we're funding them in parts, these businesses that that they own.
Absolutely. Do you know, I heard that somebody was talking the other day about the psychology behind why these powerful men, white men usually, these powerful white men want to abuse a child. And that is, it's about the power of that. Because they've got everything else. They've got everything else that money can buy, and that's the one thing, the one bit of power. This is a psychologist talking about. It was absolutely fascinating, and saying it's because it is something pure, something
pure and unadulterated.
Yeah, and they can soil it. And a lot of these men were also violent with these girls. So they didn't just sexually abuse them, they abused them in other ways as well. I want this all out there. I don't care if they're Democrat, Republican, I don't care who they are. These men need to be held to account. And, they never will be.
Well, the way it's going, they possibly not, but I still live in hope that they might. And I think Ghislaine Maxwell is the key. And
I don't think she's corruptible. We know that.
She is corruptible.
So we can't trust that she's not going to be corrupted now.
I don't know, I know, but she is the key. Like she is or not, she is. She's the only one that's still alive. She's the one that procured them, allegedly. Yeah. And she's the one that
well,
knows
she's in jail for it, so it's not even alleged, is it? I mean, she was found guilty for trafficking. So
was that what she was found guilty?
I believe so, yeah. Right. But yeah, I mean, I just really hope the world gets to see what we need to see, because at the moment these very dangerous men and this is the problem with power, is money and power. We know it. They absolutely never get caught doing anything, do they? They default. They're fake with their taxes. They don't pay the right amount of money. They steal money from people. They take it from the poor. Look at Robert Maxwell, for example. Stole all of that pension money for his own gain. I still don't believe I don't believe he died that day. But you know, I think that there's an awful lot. These rich, powerful men just know they're going to get away with it. They just know they will. But I hope not. Let's take a break. Claire and I'll be back in just a moment.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, this is Talk, and it is Petrie here, and with me is the fabulous Claire Muldoon. Let's start on the papers, the British papers for Thursday. Cricket legend's inquest. The England star asked his wife to help him die.
This is Graeme Thorpe, of course, and the inquest has just opened. And his wife said that he begged her to help him kill himself, basically. And in the end, as we know, he was struck by a train and he suffered a brain injury before that, when he attempted suicide before that. Yeah. And it's incredibly sad. And there's blame for lockdown on this. There's blame of him losing his coaching job. He was a 55-year-old married man with 4 children. It's just devastating, and it's so
depression
sad.
Is so incredibly powerful. And I had a friend of mine who killed himself, and I've literally never got over it, because he called me and I was too busy to take his call. I suspect I'm Paige, I'm too busy to talk right now. I had something to do. I never phoned him back, and then he was dead.
But Petrie, you might have stopped him in that one instance, but he would have gone on to commit suicide again, to kill himself.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say, is that what you have to remember is that you are determined that is the only way your pain can end. Then it will be, and you will find a way to do it. And it's the only thing. It was somebody I phoned a helpline actually to talk about it one time, and I just said, I feel so guilty, I just feel so awful. And the woman there said exactly as you did. Look, you know, he was phoning to say goodbye, because apparently that's what people do, and without saying goodbye, but he wanted to have a conversation with you, and B, he would have found a way. If you're determined, you're determined. But this is incredibly sad, and imagine hearing that from your husband as well. Awful. Really
it just must be devastating. It must have been awful for her. And still, but I often think that although clearly it's a terrible thing to have happened, but there must be a part of people who have suffered their loved one taking their own life. There must be a bit of, at least they're now at peace.
Yeah,
I don't have to wait for this day.
They're no longer in that sort of pain.
I don't need to wait for this day to happen again and again and again. That this is it now. Yeah,
I can absolutely see that. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's so sad. Let's have a look at the Daily Mirror. They didn't do this yesterday. They did this today, and that is Ozzy. Because I led with Ozzy dying at the age of 76. The myth, the man, the myth, the legend. And we got more details on Wednesday, Claire, about his last few hours.
Well, I mean, it was...
he died at home in Buckinghamshire,
with it, when the helicopter came in, and the surrounding areas of Chalfont St Giles, on the borders of Buckinghamshire, that have, there was the helicopter circling there for about 20 minutes or something like that until it landed. But when you think, when he went to do his Back to the Beginning tour at Aston Villa in Birmingham, he was sitting in that chair. The whole scene was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And we've seen now some leaked videos of his last videos with Kelly and her son, and Jack as well, his son. And he was a remarkable man in more ways than one. He was remarkable for me, given the amount of abuse he gave his body. Yeah, how he actually lasted to age 76.
We were saying that. We were saying that on Wednesday. We were saying that actually. Who would have thought he would have lived to 76, to be honest?
The stories.
Probably not him.
He snorted a line of ants once as well, and then him taking 10 tabs of acid, talking to the horse in the field, and then the horse used an expletive off, and he thought, well, that's it now, this isn't normal. And then, my heart goes out to his wife as well. I think Sharon, people should be concerned about her welfare. Because she lived for that man. Yeah. She lived for her. She lives for her family. And she really does. And their mansion through the mill.
Yeah, she really. I mean, the mansion. Of course, he tried to kill her at one point, and he cheated on her multiple times. Yeah. But she always stood with him. And at their mansion in Buckinghamshire, they just built. They've just done some renovations and built a whole new wing for his rehabilitation and for him, and access points and everything as well. And there's talk that they believe she'll bury him in the grounds.
In the garden.
Yeah, in the grounds.
I've got one thing that I find completely and utterly unforgivable about the whole family, though. And that is, they gave us the car Kardashians.
And they did.
Because I don't think, without the show on MTV of the Osbournes, the Kardashians would never
have happened. Well, it would never have happened. They were the first. They were the OGs. I loved it. Did you?
And they were great.
Oh, fantastic. Never seen a family like it. It was unbelievable.
And the dogs, the dog lifting the dogs around.
And all the dogs pooing everywhere around the house.
Everywhere.
They never got the mouse trained, ever.
You wouldn't have wanted to be a housekeeper there, would you?
No, by the look of it, they didn't have one anyway. But, there you go. Lovely family. She's a lovely woman, and we all send our love to her and the family, because it's, even though he did last a lot longer than even he would have thought, it's still a heartbreak, isn't it? But there we go. The Times, the Lionesses, all you need to know about the Lionesses. Did you watch the game?
No.
No. Because of Talk Sport, which is, as you know, is just over my shoulder. Of course, all the screens were, and I just thought it was silent. I thought, what the hell's going on? Nobody's talking. Normally they're all bantering and all that kind of thing. They're all just staring up at the screen as I walked past, having been to the loo. And then I sat down, and as I sat down, it was like this sudden cheer when the last-minute goal went in, taking them to a 1-1 tie. And then, of course, in extra time, the Lionesses pelted in an incredible goal. I mean, I'm not even into football, and I looked at it and went, that's a pretty good goal. To be 2-1.
Cards on the table. I didn't watch it, not because I'm Scottish and not because England were playing. It's just that I don't like women's football. I don't like women's rugby. I don't even like women's tennis.
Do you like women? Not really.
Not really.
Yeah. Fair enough. Just thought I'd ask. The other stories on the Times: hit striking doctors in the pocket, says NHS chief. Plan to prevent medics profiting from overtime. And these are these doctors who will be on strike and then will go back into work on freelance pay.
Yeah,
that's so wrong.
The whole thing. Isn't that this whole striking nonsense is wrong.
They've had 28.5% increase, more than anybody else in the country.
Petrie, they haven't even looked at the press releases, right? When they've said things like they're on £15 an hour, they've got student debt, right? They're on with all their overtime. They get a lot of money. You cannot pay your student loan back unless you're earning over 25k for a start, right? If you've got a full-time job, 35 to 40 hours full-time equivalent, you're on 15 hours, you'd be very lucky if you brought in over 25,000, 30,000 to start paying back your student loan. So that is a misnomer. Yeah. That is a rhetoric, and that should not be framed as fact, okay? Point number one. Point number two, they are putting patients' lives at risk. This has been documented by consultants who have, incidentally, have gone through this rite of passage themselves, and who actually are not in favour of the strike at all. Of the striking doctors, I think the turnout was just less than 50%, which brought it up to 26,000 of percentage of 26,000 members voted, which is 50% of the what are they called now? They're not called junior doctors; they're called resident doctors.
Yeah.
So there's not even the full quota of those that think that the strike should happen. They've managed to pull that over the line. They will start at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning on 5-day strike. call me old-fashioned, but point number 3, they took the Hippocratic Oath.
Yeah,
you
to
know,
do no
to
harm.
preserve life at all costs. Well, they're putting a price on it. That's wrong. And the 4th point I want to make, they've got very, very generous superannuated pension pots. What is the problem?
Yeah.
You've already had your pay rise. Don't bleat to me now and saying, well, in real terms, since 2008, we've not had a real return. Come on. Come on.
And they're not going to. Wes Streeting has said there is no money. There is no money. Well, apart from the MPs, they got quite a hefty pay rise. But there is no money. Wes Streeting has said the pay rise is off the table. This is pointless.
But completely pointless. Yeah. But they shot themselves in the foot when they got in last year
by handing
they gave them immediately. They gave them to the rail drivers, train drivers, and they gave the pay rise to the resident doctors as well.
Yeah, they really did. And the doctor said, well, thanks for that, but we're coming back for the rest in
Oh, do you want the brain drain? Do you want them to move to Australia? Well, actually, if they want to, yeah, because you know what that will do? That'll open up medical school places for British kids that can't get in now because
they've limited the places.
Because they've limited the places.
Yeah, they've got to lift that limit. But they really have got to do that.
Oh yes, they do.
You know, the reason they didn't want to do that is because they wanted to limit the number of British-born doctors, because a British trained doctor costs £300,000 more than getting one from overseas. Because of the training time and you know, all of that, it costs £300,000. If we don't have to pay that, we can just grab one from, you know, India or wherever, and then we haven't had to pay that money. That was why that was originally done. And of course, what it's done now is create a place where we haven't got enough doctors being trained. Short-termism, as ever.
And also with the way the funding for the universities is at the moment, that they get higher revenue for international students to come over and read medicine here.
Yeah, of course. All of it is just so corrupt. It is ridiculous. Quick break, Claire. Back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk, and it's Petrie here, and with me is Claire Muldoon. Just before we move on from the Times, Claire, I just saw this story and I thought it's got to be worth us having a chat about it, and that is the Macrons suing a US podcaster,
Candace Owens,
for saying that she was born a man.
Now, when Candace Owens first took this story and blew it up, she got Tucker Carlson involved as well, right, across the pond. She did. And she's just had her 4th child, okay? So, you know, but before that, she opened up this whole case. And one of her big things on this was the fact that she hasn't even bothered taking me to court, so it must be true. She's not suing for libel. Right,
what a ridiculous thing to say. I mean, that is baiting the bull, isn't it?
I know. But I'll tell you, there are a lot of keyboard warriors out there who are shifting through pictures of her. I mean, quite frankly, I mean, she knew him when he was 14 or something like that.
That's enough.
Now, this has been
yeah.
You know what? That's enough. do we really need to know what gender she thinks she is, or whatever? But it's a funny story. It really is. And then, do you remember when Macron and Brigitte were coming off that plane?
Yes, and she pushed him.
She slapped him or something like that. And then there's now optics of her completely and utterly just ignoring him when they're out, and he's offering his arm and she's shunning him. There's something going on that I don't know what's going on, but it's
yeah, there definitely is. But I mean, I think during her state visit to the UK, her sister had just died, and they were very close, and that's why she looked like a deer in the headlights most of the time. But it's just that I mean, of course, they say the same about Michelle Obama. There are people calling her Bob. Do they call her Bob? Mike. That's what they say. Her original name was Mike, and she was a man, even though she's given birth to two girls. But hey,
or has she?
Or has she? Indeed.
Or has she?
Yeah. Well, anyway, they're going to sue, and I suspect they'll win. Or will they? I mean, that would be a shocker, wouldn't it? The Daily Mail. Asylum seekers gambling away taxpayer cash. Is this just rage baiting, or has this got some merit to it, do you think, as a statement?
I was listening to a podcast this morning, very early this morning, and one of the guys on it was saying that the last time there was a headline like this in the Mail, it was actually Zia Youssef and Reform had published Doge, right, their version of Doge, to say that councils were wasting an awful lot of money by giving asylum seekers cards with things on it. And it actually transpired. There were 6,000 families that got these cards because the children were vulnerable. And under the state law, under our UK state law, children shouldn't be coerced. So it was to keep them away from coercion. There was spend on these cards to bowling alleys, popcorn, cinema tricks. These were trips out for children, not the asylum seekers themselves.
Right.
So I think we have to really look into the detail of these headlines, look behind them, especially in papers like the Daily Mail. And we really need to look across a vast spectrum of news, noteworthy outputs. And for me, the Daily Mail has never been one of them. So I would urge people just to really gently tease out the facts in them, because all is not all what it seems.
I completely agree with you, and that's why I asked the question in that way, because there's so much now that is framed as a form of rage bait, clickbait, because these newspapers make money mostly online, and they want people to click on these stories, and so they use headlines like this and often disprove their headline within the first 3 paragraphs. But we have to be very careful at the moment, because even
we have to be.
There will be some truth in this somewhere. But what is it? Just please be really careful. It is designed to make us angry.
This one these headlines for tomorrow's papers in particular, the way I think they've got around it is by saying gambling, right? Well, no child could ever shouldn't be ever taken into a gambling shop, and it wouldn't have been their money that was used. So clearly there's a bit of a grain of truth, I'd say, in this. Yeah,
I would agree. Again, I think that there probably is a grain of truth, but like you said, this is not the point. Yeah, and how do you even spend those cards on? Because I don't know. We'd have to look into it more.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at The Guardian. Quite an extraordinary, distressing, again, if I can warn people, there is a distressing image on the screen now if you're watching YouTube. I'm not talking about Claire this time, I'm talking about the photograph. The Guardian, we've faced hunger before, but never like this. This is a horrific picture here. And setting aside, and literally setting aside, all politics in this, because we know there's so much, politics, and it's their fault, it's your fault, it's whatever. Images like this should trouble all of us, right?
And did you see the front page of the Express today as well?
Yeah,
so the front page of the Express had that child.
Yeah, same child. From the front,
from the front with its mother holding it. And I've read online tonight, you know, I would always feed my child first before me. Why is the mother not looking as bad as the child? That's where we're at. You know, that is where we're at. Surely any human being looking at that vision, that soul, that child would think inherently something is wrong. Something isn't quite right there.
Exactly. And also the mother, I mean, the children are so much more vulnerable because they're so much smaller and they lose weight much quicker. We know that with babies. So it's not about the mother stuffing her face. She definitely isn't doing that, right? And potentially the reason this child is so sick is because she hasn't eaten enough to be able to produce milk to feed the child.
I'm really glad that because we've not seen pictures like this in the UK. We haven't. And this has been going on for a long time. Whether or not it's because Hamas are not allowing the aid in, or whether it's because Israel are targeting Gaza, I don't care. Right?
I don't care.
I really don't care.
That's why I said taking all the politics out of this. I know, but we cannot.
This is getting completely out of hand now. Yeah. Completely and utterly.
I mean, poor little child. Dad doesn't even have a nappy on. Got a plastic bag.
A plastic bin bag.
Awful. I mean, we haven't seen images like this really since we're talking about the Cambodian situation and Cambodian starvation and images from Africa.
The Express for tomorrow is 40 years of Live Aid, and Bob Geldof is showing similar visuals from Gaza and saying, look, come on. This is not what have we learned? Where is humanity?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It is about the humanitarian crisis. Even if you hate the people and you hate the politics, whatever it is, it certainly isn't that kid's fault.
No.
But whatever
absolutely
else happens,
not.
It is not that child's fault. Right, the Daily Telegraph. UN court opens the door to Britain being sued over climate change.
I didn't see that in the Telegraph.
Yeah, front page, just on the side. I can't read the body of the piece because the Telegraph always prints out really badly. The other story: police not ready for the summer of unrest. Yeah.
The forced to choose between local duties and tackling protests over migrants. I mean, we've discussed this already. The other thing about the Telegraph is they've got quite a long thing there. Over-the-counter tests are not reliable. Well, come on. They're not. There's been a University of Birmingham, I think doctors have done some research on this, and tests for like cholesterol or vitamin deficiencies and prostate tests and blood tests for perimenopause, menopause. Who knew? They're not that reliable. And who's paying the money for this? People who have got symptoms, people who don't or who can't get appointments with the GP, who think this will be a panacea for all. Oh, I'll be fine. I'll just do this test and I'll be fine. I blame the drug companies for putting tests like this out there.
I agree.
I blame them completely and utterly for saying, oh, we can do this. We can. And do you know where it started? With these stupid DNA kits. I don't want to know who I'm related to hundreds of years ago on another planet. Do you?
Also, no, I absolutely don't want to know who I'm related to.
Because I'm not. I came from heaven. I am
of course.
An angel sent from
heaven.
An
angel sent from heaven. I think that what happened during COVID as well is it taught us about, self-testing and all of that. We got used to it. So the drugs companies just gone, oh, well, if they're prepared to do that at home, what else will they do at home? Yeah. And so we've all got used to the swabs and the thing on your pinchy thing on your finger to check your thingy, whatever it was, I don't know. Blood oxygen levels and things like that.
Oh,
so
yes,
I think, so I think that's what it was as well, is that they went, oh, these people, we can sell them that rubbish. If you're in any doubt, go to the doctor.
You can read it now. I can't. Is it £600 million? It's worth the industry.
Yeah, I can't read it because it's too blurry. But it actually sounds about right. Of course, it would be because they're worried well as well.
Yeah.
They're always out buying stuff, going, look it up, Google. Oh, it's, I've stubbed my toe. Oh, it's cancer.
Dr. Google.
No, it's not cancer. You stubbed your toe. I've got to take a quick break. Back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
It is Talk, and it's Petrie here, and with me is Claire Muldoon. And let's have a look at the Daily Star, again reflecting on the football, the Lionesses. It's combing home. Yeah, this is. I think this is the same headline as they used before. But anyway, this is because the Daily Star was giving away cut-out ponytails.
And do you know
have we still got a copy of the Star from Wednesday Star? Go and have a look, see if we can find a cut-out ponytail.
Ed Balls, Yvette Cooper's husband's on the front wearing his.
Hilarious. He's about as funny as a stubbed toe.
He's so not funny.
He's so not funny. There's nothing about that man.
So not funny.
Nothing amusing about him. But anyway, he is hilariously...
I'd go so far as to say, Petrie, it doesn't add up. Do you see what I did there?
I do see what you did there. He is... he's wearing the cutout ponytail, which we were all meant to do today. Were you wearing yours?
Of course I wasn't.
You were such a killjoy. I can tell you.
Am I? You know I'm not. You know I'm not. I'm great at karaoke.
Great
young
at
Chris
karaoke.
Jacob. Remember Chris and I doing a duet in your house?
Yes, I do. Very good. Actually, Phil Dave was good, wasn't he?
He was brilliant.
I know.
Was Mark Randall.
I know. Unbelievable voice.
Phil, you loved it.
He's not even in here, so he's going to miss this bit. He's gone to find a copy of this. Of a ponytail for me.
Well, that would look good in him.
Yeah. All right, Sam, you need to stick it on the back of Phil's head.
And Sam, send a picture.
Recycling have already binned them all. Damn it.
You mean they weren't real with the paper?
It was a newspaper cut-out ponytail, yeah.
Oh, my goodness me.
I really wanted to see one stuck to Phil's head. That would have been...
Phil's head?
Yeah. That would have given me no end of joy. The front of the Star as well, though. Do you remember Keir Starmer? He'll do a flip flop on this as well. The last time the Lionesses got to the final, he said that if he was in power, or he said the Tories should give us a bank holiday.
Bank holiday
for it. And now, of course, they could win. And will we get a bank holiday? What do you reckon if you had to bet on it?
Well, bank holidays really affect me because I don't get paid if I don't work.
Yeah, same with me.
So, yeah. So for us freelancers, I don't want any more bank holidays. Thank you very much.
And also, I, unlike my colleagues, don't get paid extra for working a bank holiday.
I don't either.
Yeah, they do. Between you and me, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they get paid. They get paid. Oh yeah, I bet you do actually. Yeah, they get paid. They get paid extra. Yeah.
Oh.
Just saying, one set of rules.
Do you know what? I think we should contact Angela Rayner about this because this is just unfair.
It's discrimination.
It's discrimination.
It's discrimination. Yeah, but you see, if we go on strike, there's a queue of people.
Look, if we go on strike, there'd be some young person who would do it for nothing.
Literally, yeah.
Because that's allowed as well, isn't it?
That's why broadcasters don't go on strike. They know there's people nipping at their heels, just begging to get in there.
And do you know what? That's why because I am quite just and I'm quite moralistic. That's why I don't work for nothing.
Yeah. I mean, that's
wrong.
When you're talking about value,
Stop it.
I didn't say.
Stop it.
You finished that sentence. I didn't. You finished that in your head. Have you seen anything around today? Because everything else is pretty much repeating what we've talked about. Have you seen anything else around today?
Yeah, I was going to talk. Yes, start on the FT just briefly. The trade accord, with India, Starmer and Modi, tomorrow will sign a deal that'll increase exports to India from us by 60%, apparently.
From India to us?
No, from us to India.
Okay. Well, that's a fairly chunky trade deal.
Before I came on air, I was just about to Google what do we export to India in any event.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. They've also put in the wave of hunger in Gaza, so now the papers are starting to pick it up.
Yeah, I think that there will be a forced ceasefire of some description.
I think there has to be.
Yeah.
And as well in the FT, Kemi Badenoch, because we know she's got her new shadow cabinet
that nobody cared about.
Exactamundo.
Didn't even make the papers, really.
She's actually quoted as saying she wants the template used by Argentinian Milei, the new president of Milei, and because she wants to start slashing the state interference, state money, state intervention into the UK, and I wonder how that will work. Anyway, moving on from today, there was a funny article in the Times about the French laissez-faire attitude to their work, and some funny...
I love the French. You've got to admire the French.
Where's my notes on this? Here they are. So there's been a 40% rise in absenteeism in France for the past 5 years, apparently. With their love of a long holiday, their coveted 35 hours a week, the right to be disconnect from the office-related communications. So the French were always seen as being the envy of, especially us Brits, because everyone thinks we've got such a poor work-life balance. 40 hours full-time equivalent, if you're lucky, to work that amount, and etc., 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 etc. Meanwhile, over in La France, they've had the 35-hour week. They've got great paternity leave. They're actually now starting to put the brakes on it and say, jamais, jamais, never, 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 stop, rien. And, they're starting to pull them up. But what they've forgotten is about 60% of their workforce are actually working for the government or thereabouts. And it's them that are taking more of the breaks. And they're like, well, if you're off sick, who's doing that? Oh, right, okay, so it's all gone.
I mean, do you remember when the French discussed? Because the headlines were talking about, I think it was yesterday, was saying how our pension age could very easily jump to 74. Right, from 68, it's already gone up from 60 for women, 65 for men to 68. And do you remember when the French suggested raising the pension age by 6 months? They were burning tractors. They were out on the streets. They know. I mean, they come from revolution, right? The French.
But you do is the Huguenots. Remember?
You've got to admire that. They were 6 months, none.
Do you remember when? No. Do you remember when they had all the PCNA, whatever cameras, whatever they're called? They set up speed cameras. Everyone went up and put hoods over them. Yeah. So they couldn't be used. Yeah. Brilliant. Other thing in the Daily Star.
The French don't muck about, and also if they're told, right, you've got to work all these hours, they would just go. They'll just shrug their shoulders, won't they, and go buy a baguette.
Yeah. Or a croissant.
Yeah. I mean, I really do admire the French because they will not put up with any nonsense from their government, and particularly now Macron is very weak, isn't he? So
he is very weak. Yeah,
he is.
He's very small and very weak, and he's married to a man, allegedly.
Allegedly. Don't, because they'll be after you as well. There'll be a lawsuit on its way any day now. Claire Muldoon, always a pleasure, never a chore. Thank you very much.
That's because I set them up for you and you just slap them down because it's your show.
I never forget it.
Riding image, forget Gaza for a minute, Phil Dave with a paper
ponytail. It's got to be. That is the enduring image of this whole year so far. Claire Muldoon, thank you very much. Mwah. See you soon. Poor Phil. He didn't hear the nice things we were saying about him because he was out of the studio. But it always nice about people behind their back. That's what I always say. Now, coming up, we're going to be talking about the migrant hotel situation. And given this is the situation that we're in, right, with people coming across the channel, seemingly as many as want to come arrive, nobody really is stopping them. There doesn't appear to be a plan to stop them. So these people are coming. If you're angry about them being in hotels, and I understand why you are, where else are they going to go?
Good evening and welcome to Plank of the Week. It's the one show where you do not have to be worried about judgmental people because we'll do all the judging for you. Let's just have a look at how Humphrey Useless is now spending his time.
There goes your career, mate.
Over there a bit is over towards where all the migrants come in. He's jumping there. There he goes. He goes over the bar. Hello, and lady. Unfortunately, it catches on his Johnson.
If he's Plank of the Week, he's got a sizable plank.
That's a whole different show.
Plank of the Week, Fridays at 7 on Talk.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning to you. It is a Thursday, the 24th. Soon be August. My sympathies to all of you who whose children have just broken up for the holidays. I remember the days and the dread and the fear of the unknown coming up. 6 weeks of joy. So I do send you my sympathies if you haven't already hit the bottle, which is probably what I would have done. So coming up for the next hour, what I want to talk to you about is there's been a lot said in recent days, of course, about migrants in hotels. We've seen the issues in Essex, where there was a protest that became violent. The very odd behaviour by the police there, very strange. They'll have to answer to that. Much even more recently than that, the taking over of a once 4-star hotel in Canary Wharf, which is a very posh part of London, and an erstwhile posh hotel used predominantly by businessmen and women. The government has taken over 400 of the 500 rooms there. We've seen today with mattresses going in and makeshift beds, because they will be putting more beds into each room. So it could house 800 if they put 2 in a room, or if it's 3 in a room. You can do the maths probably better than I can. So we're looking at a situation. There's nobody in there at the moment. There were rumours that the people from the Bell Hotel in Essex were going to be moved there, but they are not. The Home Office has denied that. So they're just actually buying capacity in the event, or in the certainty, that more migrants will arrive on British soil over the summer, and they will require housing. So that's why that is. It's £81 a night, I think, for that hotel. Or not when it was considered 4-star, not when it was properly 4-star, but it's definitely expensive. Or I don't know if that's for the room, per room, or whether that's per migrant. I have got that written down. I'll have a look in a minute. But a lot of people are very angry about it, and I get it. I totally understand. It is now, we are in a situation now which is untenable. It cannot continue. But in the world we're in at the moment, it is going to continue, right? There's an absolute certainty to that. We know it, I know it, you know it, government knows it, they know it, we all know it. This is going to continue. And more people will come across to the UK, because it is relatively easy for them to do so. And it is very easy once they get here to go through all the legal processes, and most remain here anyway. So once you get here, you're home and dry, basically. We also know that a lot of those people that are coming over here are not genuine asylum seekers or refugees. It would be naive to suggest otherwise. So we have a lot of a lot of men, a lot of young men coming over. They are here. They will continue to be here. So if you're angry about the hotels, which I get, totally understand, where else are you going to put them? And the reason I'm asking that question is not that I expect you to have an answer to it, but really to make us think about this situation, and to think about that question. Like, we're not happy with hotels. There's lots of protests planned all through the summer, apparently. Some of them will turn nasty. Some of them will turn to riots, demanding that these hotels be closed down. Where are you going to put them? Where are you going to send them? We can't send them anywhere, because if they've come from or claim to have come from a dangerous country, we can't send them back into a war zone, for example. And so they would have to stay here. So where would they go? Give me a call. Let me know what you think. 0344 499 1000. You can message me as well if you put the word talk up front and then your message to 87222. And you can also send a WhatsApp to that number 0344 499 1000. Let's go straight to the calls now. And Sarah's a first-time caller to this show. Hello, Sarah in Birmingham.
Hello.
Hello there. Lovely to speak to you. Thank you for picking up the phone. What do you make of this? What do we do?
I think there's just one answer. We can't put them into houses in communities. It's too much of a risk to the British public. And, you know, what do the government value more? Do they value the safety of the British citizens or the freedom of illegal migrants who we don't know the background, we don't know if they're terrorists, we don't know if they're sexual deviants? So the answer to me is to copy what Trump has done in Florida. He's created the infamous alligator Alcatraz, and I know the left will balk at this suggestion, but to me, they've come illegally. We don't know who they are. They cannot be as free as they're allowed to be in the hotels. We need to know where they are. We need until they're processed. Somewhere where they're not allowed to leave, and that's just the way it is, because you've come in illegally. We need to know who you are. It's going to take time. They're not allowed to do then illegal working with Deliveroo, somewhere ideally really remote. So there is no community to impact. There is no work available for them to participate in. And I feel that while they're waiting to be processed, they should be maintaining the upkeep of this base. So I don't know if there's any unused MOD bases or other such bases, or whether we need to build one. But that is, to me, the only solution. And you say that we're not allowed to sort of get rid of them, but like Greece has recently really changed the rules, and the EU are supporting Greece. They are putting them literally as they land onto coaches, and they're being detained or flown back. So I think we've all got to a point, everyone in Europe and us, because obviously we're not in Europe anymore, where actually the rules have got to be broken now.
I mean, yes, but Greece still won't be allowed to send people back to for example, a war-torn country. They wouldn't be allowed to do that. I mean, what are you talking? I mean, in America, what's happening there? And you saying that they're illegals. Many of them have been there for 20, 30 years, paid tax, all of those things, and the illegality is a civil illegality. It's the same as jaywalking. It's not, you know, and actually, if you go by the letter of the law, and I merely point this out, they are not illegal until their status has been confirmed or denied. So
that's crazy.
I know that's why we are not able to arrest them as they arrive, because they haven't done anything illegal. Overstaying a visa is illegal. Being rejected for whatever it might be is, you have to then leave, and if you remain, that's illegal. So until then, they're not illegal, because the only place that any of these people can claim asylum is on British soil. They can't do it anywhere else in the world. It has to be on British soil.
But why? Because they've come through some safe countries, you know, all coming from France. France is a safe country. And surely coming to a country without going through border control with no passport is not legal.
Well, there are no passports, of course, in Europe. That's the thing, free borders, isn't it? They just cross the borders. There are no, if you go from Spain to France along the massive border there's no passport control. That was all the whole Schengen thing.
To the first European country, you wouldn't just say, oh, it's not free borders within Europe, but not outside Europe. You know, so at some point, it can't be the law of this country that anyone can just turn up and then get a place in a hotel. There's some law that's being broken there.
No, not a single law. Not officially, because every country is obliged to take in genuine asylum seekers or refugees, right? We are obliged to do that. And currently, there is no other place to ask for asylum except when they land in Britain. They cannot do it anywhere else. And as for crossing through safe countries, that is not a requirement. And those safe countries, if you imagine all those countries bordering the Central Europe, they don't want to keep all of those migrants, so they're just letting them go. There's nothing to stop them. There's no one to stop them. There are no borders for them to be stopped at once they're in those outlying European countries. So the only way, and I've said this a thousand times, the only way to say that anybody coming across on a boat is behaving illegally is to provide them with somewhere else to apply for asylum. And that would mean setting up hubs in third countries. So you'd have one in Afghanistan, but the Taliban wouldn't allow it for a start. Yeah. But I'm just using it as an example, so that if you wanted asylum, you could go to, you can't do it in British embassies, you can't do it anywhere else apart from on British soil. So you'd have to set up hubs where specifically you could apply for asylum, and then they would check it there. And then if you were rejected there and then you came across on a boat, you could be arrested.
Because the thing is, we're assuming they're asylum seekers, and we all know a lot of them are not asylum
Absolutely,
seekers.
we do.
Yeah.
But that's the only way that we could call them illegal, is if we gave them an option to try somewhere else. If they were rejected there and then tried to come across on a boat or a lorry or whatever, I don't care, then they've behaved illegally, then they can be arrested, and then they can be returned.
But is that on the premise that they are an asylum seeker? That all that information's based on that premise, isn't it?
Well, the premise would be that those who are faking it or lying, they couldn't pretend they were from another country because they'd be in a hub, in their own country or at a British embassy, for example. Yeah. So they go, well, we know you're Afghan because you've just walked into the British embassy in Afghanistan. I'm just using that as an example. Yes. And then if they were rejected, say, no, I'm sorry, you don't fulfil any of the criteria for being an asylum seeker. Yeah. Then they wouldn't be accepted if they crossed the channel. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. So, and only those that had been checked and were verified. Women, for example, any woman from Afghanistan, I say give them asylum immediately because the lives they're living is absolutely hell. Yeah, so they would then be allowed to fly into the UK. It would be safer for them. Right, yeah. So I don't see why we're not doing that, because actually that is literally, and I've been talking about this for decades, that's the only way that we could then declare people who come in irregularly as illegal.
Yeah, and I also think, why is this government and why are the leaders of other European countries who have got the same issue, why are they not talking to? I mean, a lot of the people coming in seem to be coming from Africa. So why are we not working with the relevant leaders over whether they whether they won't communicate? But money talks, doesn't it? And we're spending so much money, like you said earlier, 8 million a day. Yeah. If we give a fraction of that to some of these countries, and I'm sure the people won't benefit from it, only the leaders, but they've got to take some responsibility for all the people just streaming out of Libya, and it seems to be Libya at the moment. Yeah. And they need to take some responsibility for this, because we are going to become a third world country ourselves soon. I mean, it
has to stop. Or it has to be dramatically reduced to those who are deserving of our support and our protection. And we all know, I mean, even though I'm called a lefty, we all know that these people are taking advantage. But actually, is it their fault, or is it the fault of the absolutely rubbish systems and the lack of intelligent thinking that is enabling them?
Yeah, it's the fault of the world leaders of each country. They're not doing anything, and this has been going on far too long now, and we've come to a crunch point.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a case now, I think, Sarah, of all the European leaders, getting together and either putting up a proper border around the outside of Europe, or providing hubs where people in various, even if we do say British embassies, right, for example, then why can't they why can't they go through the asylum process with people? I've never understood that.
Yeah, what is this big backlog of years and years of processing them? Because if we did have some sort of detention centre, so, somewhere really remote in either Scotland, Wales, or like the Yorkshire Moors, I don't know, with a promise to the people that live locally that their area will be restored once the problem is sorted, why can't there be a team processing them on site, 24 hours a day? It's not actually hard to solve this. I think it's not as hard as people are making it out to be.
I mean, if we threw the money at the issue that we're throwing at not fixing the issue,
yes,
we could fix the issue. I mean, in 10 years, long-term contracts signed in 2019 are now estimated to cost $15.3 billion by the end of the 10-year period, instead of what was originally forecast at $4.5 billion. And you just imagine that in the October budget, we're going to get taxed again. Yeah. So, 15 billion, if we threw that at solving the backlog, getting rid of the backlog, perhaps, encouraging embassies, giving them more money so they can deal with asylum claims, I reckon that the problem would be solved.
I mean, I was so pleased to hear what Greece are doing the other day. I just thought the first bit of good news, and I feel like Greece have come to crunch point and they're having to do this. I was pleased also to hear that the European Union are in favour of what Greece are doing. I don't know if that's right or wrong. It's just what I read. But I think, Matt, if we all just work together, France just seems to be pushing everyone over to us. Well, that's not working with us, is it?
No, but you can kind of understand it.
Yeah. You can,
I mean, everybody's being overwhelmed at the moment, and it's costing a lot of money. So what would you do?
But why are we so stupid to keep giving them the huge amount of money we are when we know they're doing nothing?
Well, I mean, what, France, you mean?
Yeah,
because
giving France.
I'll tell you why. Because France has given us permission to have our border in France. So our border is in France. If they suddenly went, and actually the mayor of Calais has said, all right, well, we'll just move your border back to Kent then.
But isn't that better? Because then nobody's like manning our border.
Yeah, because then it's all the legal routes would be open.
Right.
So you just come into the country on a ferry and then claim asylum when you got to British soil.
Right.
So I mean, look, there's so much geopolitics. There's so much, and there's also, Sarah, a hell of a lot of corruption.
Yeah.
People make a lot of money. Follow the money. There have been billionaires made by the use of these hotels. Billionaires.
I thought Patrick Christie's report was amazing on, is it GB News, where he's going to, risking his own safety, really. But he's shown how easy it is to catch the people that are running the gangs. So if he can do it, and he's a reporter, and he's done it in a few days, why can't the government tackle this?
This is what I always ask, and I just always say, follow the cash. Follow the money. There's always somebody with their sticky fingers in the cookie jar, and until it stops being so incredibly profitable, it's going to continue. And I think that I know I'm a cynical old witch, but it is always that. Sarah, it's lovely to speak to you. I hope you call again.
Oh, will do. Yeah, thank you, Petrie.
All right, darling, take care. Right, I'm going to go to a break, but I will be back in just a moment.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, this is Talk, and it is Petrie, as usual, on a Wednesday, and we're talking at the moment about the migrants being housed in hotels. At the end of June 2025, approximately 50,546 asylum seekers were living in hotels across the UK. The total number of asylum seekers in all government-supported accommodation, including longer-term housing, stood at around 109,182, of which 58,636 were in longer-term flats. So that is asylum seekers. They have not been granted asylum. So, and this is the problem that we've got, and this is what Sarah was saying, this backlog of people waiting, and the longer they wait, the more likely they are to be just tick box exercise. Yeah, okay, you're in. But where else do they go? Because there's no sign of this issue being sorted, of being solved, is there? Nobody's doing anything. Alison has asked the question, the Illegal Migration Act states that those who arrive illegally will not be able to stay. Why is this not being used? And as I explained before, Alison, that they are not illegal. This is why this term irregular migration is being used, because legally that is a more correct term than illegal. It is not illegal to come to Britain and claim asylum. That's why they claim asylum. And they are not deserving of asylum, many of them. But they know that by claiming asylum, what they have just done is not illegal. And it is impossible for us to prove that they are not asylum seekers until they have been processed. At which point, if they are then registered as illegal and they stay, then they've broken a law. So that's why, because they're not illegal until they've been deemed illegal, because we cannot assess as they arrive if they're genuine asylum seekers or not, which is why they have to be processed. And so this is the answer. People always say, yeah, but they're illegal, they're illegal, they're illegal. They shouldn't be, but in legal, it's not true. That's why people say irregular. That's why the King said irregular migrants. That's why Macron, you remember the state visit, said irregular. People go, oh, that's wrong. Why are they saying irregular? Because actually, legally, that is the correct term. They're not illegal until they've been refused. And that is why that act doesn't work. If they arrived illegally and then didn't claim asylum, fine, then it's illegal. But as second they claim asylum, they're not illegal until they've been rejected. So just wanted to make that clear. Which is another reason why we're all being lied to, by the way, because the language that's used around this. They've got to be more specific and tell us the truth about what's really going on here. Gary is in Manchester. Hello, Gary.
Hi, Petrie.
How are you? I'm all right. How are you?
I've only been listening a couple of weeks. I'm an avid TalkSport listener.
Oh.
But, it's wound me up so much.
What TalkSport
What is happening with our government is so weak.
It is so weak. But so were the Tories.
Margaret Thatcher, don't get me wrong, I'm not a Tory or anything. I've voted Labour all my life. I'm 57. And I cannot believe how weak our government is. Also, what we need to do, we need to stop the boats coming over. We've got warships that we could anchor up in the channel and send the Marines out on ribs.
But what would they do? What would they do?
Take them back.
But they would be in British water. Again, there's maritime law.
Yeah, but until they land a foot on our soil, they're not
They are. They're in British waters. That's the point. That's the point when you see the rescue boats. That's when they've crossed into British waters.
I understand what you're saying, Petra, but it's time we grew some gonads.
But I mean, this is the question. A lot of people say to me, "We've got a navy. Why can't we use them?" And it's like,
exactly.
Well, yeah, but
we've got Marines.
Yeah, but what do you expect them to do? Because if you try to turn back, you can't.
Board the vessels and take them back
You
to
can't.
where they came from.
And
just leave them there, and you'd find that there'd be a lot less people trying to get over.
Yeah, but first of all, like I said, once they're in British waters, hang on a minute, Gary. Once they're in British waters, they're on British territory, and that's why you see those boats being met at a certain point at the crossing.
Take them back into French territory.
But you can't take them back because we don't have permission from France to take them back. Before Brexit, we could take them back.
We should make our own rules.
We could when we were part of the EU, and we did. When we were part of the EU, we were not part of the Schengen Agreement. So we didn't have to take anybody. We had a quota, which we decided. Yeah. We decided what that quota was. We were the only country in the EU that could set our own quota, and we did. If more came across, if more came across than our quota, we had the legal right to return them to France. Since we left the EU, we no longer have that legal right. So we can't return anybody to France without their permission.
British waters.
I don't know, but we can't have the Marines in French waters.
Well, that's the only solution.
But they can't be in French waters.
And the people that are in hotels costing us billions, the old RAF bases, fence them off, put porter cabins in, take all the people that are in the hotels into the sites where they could be processed off immigration and everything, and either stamp they can stay or not, and get the hotel bills down to zero. And we've got the armed forces and everything to police this.
But again, you're asking.
It might sound a bit draconian.
Yeah, and you're asking the armed forces. I mean, like I said, people have talked to me about the Navy before, and it's like, okay, get them to puncture the boats, whatever. So you want serving members of the Royal Navy to stand by and watch people drown?
No, I don't want that.
You want them to try and turn around these boats, which are so dangerous. These boats are so dangerous that's why they're taken off the boats and put on safer boats. They very rarely come in on those actual boats, right? If they've been rescued halfway, they take them off the boats. That's why you see them coming in on safer boats.
Really?
So if you turn them round, for a start, you're not allowed to do that because they're in British water. You're not allowed in French water because that's French water.
Not allowed by who, Petra?
Huh?
Not allowed by who to turn them round?
International law.
Listen, we're an island. We
still have to obey international law. We can't just wander into French water and do what we like.
Borders. We've been invaded, Petra, and you know we have.
Look, all I'm doing is pointing out that what you're suggesting cannot and will not ever happen because of international law. It won't happen. There are very few solutions to this problem, and the only one, it is not in...
Are we going to wait for all these people coming over?
No, I think we shouldn't. I mean, this is appalling.
And absolutely blows up.
Yeah, but the government has to think differently. You know, the only way we can declare these people as being illegal is if they've got another option to apply for asylum somewhere else. And then we can declare them as illegal.
Going through so many countries.
Yeah, but they
can.
Get to
Britain.
Yeah, they can.
We need to cut the benefits off them, put them in pens.
And then what? What, starve them to death?
Put them in pens, process them, rather than in comfortable hotels being fed 3 times a day. Put them in pens.
What would you have happen? Hang on a minute. What would you have happen to them then? So you want to... They don't get benefits anyway, not in the traditional sense that you're talking about.
No.
But, so you're talking about interning them in basically in prisons.
Yes, because
hang on. And then feeding them, once a day?
They've come over here illegally, Petra.
They haven't crossed illegally. They haven't. Oh my God! I don't know how many times I've got to say this.
Did that, didn't they?
They're not here illegally. They're only illegal once they have been rejected for asylum.
Yeah, well, once they get here, put them in a pen.
Put them in a pen?
Yeah.
In a cage?
You know, like the old RAF bases.
Are you talking about putting human beings...
So we have a bit of comfort.
Are you talking about putting human beings in a cage and feeding them, once a day? Because you said you didn't like 3 meals a day.
You get me wrong. I'm not getting Nazified.
Yeah, but you said they shouldn't have 3 meals a day, so I'm just trying to ascertain as to how many meals you think they should have.
Of course they should.
All right, well, that's different to what you just said.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it is. I can play it back to you if you want.
OK, no problem. But what my point is, if we made it a little bit more rough for them, they wouldn't want to come over here.
OK, listen...
And all the people that did want to come over here and made it a little bit more rough, the genuine ones would stick it out.
So you want genuine asylum seekers who have potentially come from horrendous wars and horrendous situations?
Oh, yes.
You want them to have to be vaguely a little bit tortured to prove they're worthy of asylum.
Oh, come on, Petra, that's a bit much, isn't it?
But that's what you just, again, that's what you just inferred.
No, it would be...
You said the genuine ones, if we made it harder for them, if we made it more uncomfortable, the genuine ones, they would work harder to get here.
Coming over on the boats, wouldn't it?
No.
This government's so weak.
It's not. It wouldn't stop them coming over on the boats, because the only way to claim asylum is on British soil. So how else are they going to claim asylum?
On waters, Petra.
Huh?
On soil or in British waters.
What? I didn't hear that, sorry.
Sorry, on British soil or on British waters?
Well, they've got to be in Britain. OK, so British waters then. If they claim asylum when they arrive in Britain, waters or land, that is the only way that they can claim asylum. And that's why a lot of them say they're claiming asylum.
We have a Royal Navy and Royal Marines for a purpose.
But I don't know what you expect them to do, because, like we've already agreed...
To stop these boats coming over to our country.
But do what with them?
And invading us, Petra.
Doing what with these boats, though? Come on, think about it. We can't do that anymore. We used to be able to do that when we were in the EU. We can't do that anymore without France's explicit permission, and they haven't given us that permission. We cannot just throw people into a country without our permission.
Whether France gave us the permission or not. We're out of the EU, and we should be protecting our borders and not allowing...
Well, we can't protect them in the way you're suggesting, because it's illegal.
Waves of fighting men. We should not be allowing it.
No, I mean, I agree with you, but your solution cannot, will not, and never would happen or work, for the reasons I pointed out. Gary, thank you. Quick break.
UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, good morning to you. It is Petrie here with you, and we're talking about the migrants that are over here, and I understand there's a lot of anger, and all I'm trying to do is point out facts. I'm not trying, I'm with you. I agree with you that this is a situation that cannot and must not be allowed to continue. But what I'm trying to do is point out to you the stuff that the government, any government, doesn't tell you. The facts of these stories. So people coming up with the idea that the Marines can go over to these boats, I don't know to do what, I wasn't quite sure about, to turn them round and force them back into French water. It is illegal for us to do that. There are international, in that case, maritime laws. And like I said, when we were in the EU, we were legally allowed to return migrants to France. We cannot do that now without express permission from France. That's what Keir Starmer is trying to get. That's why Keir Starmer and Macron came up with this one in, one out agreement. France will not accept the return of these migrants. Okay? That's the truth. So Claire has said, I apologise, however, your gaslighting is just as the government does. I'm sure you'll disagree, but you're doing as Starmer is doing to us. I'm not. In fact, I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you the reasons why your suggestions won't work. I've also come up with a suggestion that will work because I'm as frustrated as you are. I'm not saying, oh yeah, let them all come in. I'm saying that the laws that are in place is why they're able to come in. Because they are not illegal when they arrive, if they immediately claim asylum. And that's international law. That's why they can't be arrested as they arrive. That's why they can't be treated as prisoners when they arrive, because if they claim asylum, we have a duty, an international duty, to treat them as asylum seekers until it is proved otherwise through processing. What we are particularly bad at is getting that processing done quickly and then returning them. And that's not their fault. That is the part the government isn't telling you. And that, again, is a fact. So I'm sorry if you don't like the facts. I'm sorry if you think the facts are getting in the way of a good story. But I will only ever tell you the truth. And if you don't like it, I can't do anything for you. So if you come up with a suggestion to have migrants drowned in the sea, I'm going to tell you that's not going to happen. If you come up with an idea of turning them around, it's not going to happen. So I'm just giving you the truth, which is a damn sight more than you get from Keir Starmer. Get rid of the European Court of Human Rights. Be careful what you wish for. The European Court of Human Rights oversees the British courts. They do an awful lot of good. I think you mean the human rights. You want to rewrite the Human Rights Act as well, because the ECHR just stands up for the Human Rights Act. Take them all to the Falklands. You could do that. I don't know whether the Falklands would be very happy with that. Woody in Ireland has made a suggestion which actually isn't too far away from what is about to be suggested. Put the illegal immigrants or the whatever on a monitored tag until they're confirmed that they can stay. They are the biggest risk to our community, and I agree with that. And there was some suggestion, wasn't there? Oh gosh, a few months ago now, maybe it was weeks ago. I don't know, the news moves so quickly, that there would be a new tagging system and that this tagging system could be used for that purpose. And that's not a bad idea, and that can happen. Right, so I'm with you on that, Woody. Andrew says, move our soldiers and veterans and their families into hotels and the illegal. No, you're not going to listen, are you? You're just not going to hear the truth. You're just not going to hear it. And that's your issue if you don't want to hear it. But it is the truth. So I don't know what you want to do with that. Into army barracks. I think they are looking at using old army barracks, but it would be, I'm not sure how legal it would be to imprison them there. So that is potentially another legal issue, that this country adheres to these laws for the sake of everybody in this country. Laws are followed. So I don't know. Carl is in Hampshire. Hello, Carl.
Hello.
How are you this morning?
I'm very well, thank you. I'd just like to say I'm equally as wound up by the last caller as you are.
All right. I just don't know what I can do when I'm just trying to be honest, right?
Okay. So hopefully a voice of reason. So since 2023, the Conservative government made an agreement with France, £541 million a year, to extend our border to Calais, to extend our border controls.
Yeah.
But that hasn't worked.
No.
And that clearly hasn't worked. So first off, let's remove that payment to France, because it's clearly not working. It's not doing anything for us at all.
No.
Hasn't reduced any influx of migration.
Not at all. Not in any way.
So we need to remove that. Currently, we are the only country in Europe, well, we're not in Europe, but we are the only country that is being strangled by the ECHR. Italy, Greece, Spain, Belgium, Hungary, Poland, Sweden, Finland, Germany and France have all turned away migrants without any backlash at all. It's only the UK, if we have if we even mention the fact that we're going to turn somebody away, there's all hell breaks loose.
Well, no, we do. I mean, Labour has returned a lot of people. The Labour has actually returned more people than Tories ever did. But they just don't talk about it, which I think they should. But they've chosen the easy countries first. So you can't, if somebody is claiming asylum from a place that is considered to be dangerous, or that they will come to harm if they are returned, the ECHR has denied that to all countries. It's not just Britain.
Okay.
Right, so what they've done is they've returned them to safer countries.
So I have a suggestion, and it might not be a very popular suggestion. So the government can pass a legislation to say anybody entering UK waters or UK borders without a valid asylum claim would be deemed to be illegal entry.
Yep.
That would be very simple to do.
Yes, it would. And it already exists. It already exists.
So
anybody without a claim to asylum is considered illegal, but they all claim asylum.
I understand your previous point as well. That anybody coming into the UK, until they enter UK waters and is met by a UK border force and then claims asylum, is not considered illegal.
Correct.
Because they've then claimed asylum.
Yeah.
So would it not be easier, because we pay France umpteen millions of pounds a year, to say that France would be, as that's our extended border, that would be your first port of call to claim asylum, not come across on the boats?
Absolutely. And this is what I was saying earlier, that the only way that we can declare these people illegal is to give them an alternative.
We would save thousands of lives of people not risking their lives crossing the channel, and things like that.
France won't do it.
We could.
France won't do it.
So why are we paying them the money?
Well, I have no idea. I mean, that is literally the million-dollar question.
If that makes sense,
it does make sense. I mean, you've actually hit on really the only solution to this, and that is to provide an alternative place to claim asylum. Because
so these people coming from predominantly North Africa, they're coming through via Greece, Spain, coming through Italy.
Yeah.
So those countries are just letting them through.
Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't you?
Because they're coming to the UK. The other thing the UK can do, and not as draconian as some people have suggested, I kind of agree with the camps and things, but not in that way. The hotels, ring fence them, have them policed, so they are on tag. They're supervised when they leave. We don't give them phones. We don't give them, humanitarian, let them live a life. That's.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to be. We can't turn into Nazis, right? So we've got to be. We've got to be reasonable. They're human beings. Yeah.
But do they need an iPhone?
No. Many of them come, of course, with their own. But listen. Listen. Everything you're saying is absolutely reasonable, and it is the only way to solve this is to provide somewhere else for them to claim asylum. But I don't know who's going to let us do that.
Yeah, this is the problem. But at the end of the day, we're an island, and I will use a bowl of water. You can only fill it up so much, and it doesn't matter how many drips of teaspoons of water you put in, you're still going to have some spillage at the end. This country is on its knees at the moment. The infrastructure is suffering, and it's not wholly down to the immigration.
No, it's not. It's down to inept and ridiculous governments that we've had in the last 30, 40 years.
For the last 30, 40 years, it's been inept. And
absolutely.
Everybody blames the previous government, and nobody wants to do anything about it.
Correct. And that's why governments find it very convenient to blame all of this on migrants, because then it's not them. We're not blaming them. We're blaming others. But Carl, I mean, in principle, absolutely right. Trouble is, France won't have it at the moment anyway. Quick break, back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and a very good morning to you. It is Petrie here with you until the top of the hour. That's about, 6 minutes. Oh, gosh. But we're talking about the migrants in hotels, and I've been asking, given that we are at this point where nobody seems either willing or able to stop these migrants from arriving in Britain and claiming asylum, they're here, and they're going to come here in greater numbers. Where the government is already expecting a bigger influx this year. We know there will be, and they've already set aside a large Grand Hotel, an ex-Grand Hotel, in Canary Wharf. They've got the rooms ready already. So that can house, that would be about 800 people in that hotel because they've taken over 400 rooms, and I suspect there may even be more than 2 in a room. I don't know. But where else would you have them put? I mean, considering that, I don't know, they are still human beings, right? And some of them are genuine asylum seekers, and we would be treating them all like criminals. And I can understand the anger. I completely get it. I am with you with that anger. I feel the same way. I'm merely pointing out that some of the suggestions that are being made would be inhumane and illegal. So we've got to think of another solution. And governments have failed, either because they don't want to, and I suspect there's an awful lot of money being made. Billionaires have been created by this asylum crisis. Billionaires. The lawyers are making a fortune, the hotel owners are making a fortune, the mattress companies are making... Everybody's making money apart from us. So, what's the solution? Where else do we put them? Tom has said, hi Petrie, great show, thank you. I understand the French government give migrants tents to live in. That's probably why they don't stay. Perhaps our government could do the same as them. But again, then we already see tents all around towns and cities, don't we? People setting up ad hoc camps in places. I don't know if that, and you know, toiletry and all of that. What happens then? I don't know. Ali from West Yorkshire. Hello, Ali. How are you this morning?
Hi, Petrie. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's good to speak to you again. How are you?
Yeah, you too.
So what do we need to do?
Oh, sorry. I know we haven't got much time, so I'll just make my point brief. Well, first, like, the idea of having the Royal Navy or the Marines go in and basically shoot them or drown, that's really disturbing. I don't agree with that.
Well, and no sailor would do it.
No, you know, well, exactly. But obviously the current situation is unsustainable.
Yeah.
And my idea is, I don't know why it's not talked about more. Obviously, if there's a war going on, that's understandable. But why isn't there more returns deals, agreements made with countries to return them directly?
But I mean, again, these people are quite canny, and some of them will say, even to a safe country, will say, yeah, but I'm gay and it's not safe for me to be gay there. But you're right, that is the solution. And I think that Labour is actually trying to do that, is trying to talk to Albania about returning criminals,
yes.
Those we've got in prison. And the Albanians have no right to remain here anyway. So,
yes, yeah.
you know, they can all go. The trouble is they can just fly in. Just fly in.
You are, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I know, obviously, for example, to deal with, let's say, Afghanistan migrants, I know, obviously, the Taliban regime is a terrorist regime, but there's not a war going on in Afghanistan.
I know, like, but I wouldn't want... Well, if you're a woman, you need to be... lifted out of there.
Personally, if it was, instead of mostly young men, if it was all women and girls, I would let all of them. Yeah. I think women and girls from around the world that are persecuted, I support them if they were to be. But obviously, it's mostly young men.
Yeah.
So, but for example, why can't we send some migrants from Afghanistan directly back to Afghanistan?
Because I don't think it is deemed a safe country under the Taliban, and also, you know, it is definitely not a safe country if you're a gay man.
Well, yeah, right, yeah. Yeah. Also, I think, because I read it was the 4 main countries where they're coming from is Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and Somalia. I think it was
Vietnam. Funnily enough.
Vietnam as well.
Vietnam is right up there. I think that's the biggest cohort actually at the moment, believe it or not, is Vietnam. Yeah, I mean, Syria, you can understand,
yeah.
Right? You wouldn't want to go back to Syria.
Iraq as well, like Kurdistan, they could make a deal. Even I don't know, I think Somalia is currently in a war. I don't think that would be able. Ethiopia as well, that's another one. They could easily make a returns deal. So there are, you are able to make...
Oh, definitely.
If the government, if they had a will, they had like determination and guts, they could easily make a deal. Obviously, there'll be a lot of hoo-ha about, why are you making deals with these shady regimes and this and that. But just forget all that. Give them money. Even the Taliban regime, as much as it would absolutely pay me, just make a return deal. Give them money so they have flights directly returning them to Afghanistan.
Yeah, I mean, as warped, as sort of unthought out as the Rwanda plan was.
Yes.
That was considered if it really was a safe third country, where we have refugees and asylum seekers from Rwanda, by the way, in this country, then that would have worked. And Italy is certainly looking at safe third countries. The trouble is finding the countries that will accept large numbers of people.
Do you know what it is, Petrie? I know people are obviously angry in this country about what's going on, but it is globally, worldwide.
It's global, absolutely.
People are on the move, displacement, refugees, migrants, it's worldwide. Like, for example, Pakistan has nearly 3 million Afghan refugees all over.
Absolutely, they do, yeah. And they left when the Taliban arrived, yeah.
I know it's a bigger country, but